TikTok, it's time to rock. My name is Andrew. I'm from Hamilton, New Zealand. We are streaming a little bit earlier than we normally do if you are watching from all the places that normally tune in. But we are doing this because it's our special privilege and pleasure to have Michael from New York City joining us. I think this is probably about maybe the third or fourth stream that Michael has taken time out to participate with us on. So, Michael, thank you for becoming a regular to the show.
Thank you. It's an honor, really.
The honor is all ours. Trust me. The honor is all ours. The feedback we get, especially when we have you on, is remarkable. We do also appreciate the fact that you edit the shows that we've done into digestible snippets. That's remarkable. The feedback you get for that is awesome. And I personally, as a co-host, appreciate that because it's about sharing the passion, sharing the music that we all love. It's the unifying fact that's brought us here together. So we wouldn't have met had it not have been for that guy, you know. So if we can unite and get a conversation going, and you know, and sharing our opinions and our thoughts and our experiences with Clapton and his music, this is the place to be, guys. You know, so tune in, share our link. During the course of the show, I'll flick up Michael's social media accounts. Follow Michael. He does a lot of stuff on his media accounts. He keeps you up to date with what we do here too, so we appreciate that. Speaking about social media accounts, Michael, I was at work yesterday. I was having a cup of tea and I pulled my phone out and I flicked my phone on and I saw you doing some awesome Clapton licks, and boy, that blew me away, man.
Thank you. I was promoting tonight's show, so I was doing anything related to Clapton from 24 Nights or from the Cream reunion, so just to get fans excited.
Well, you certainly did. And you got this fan excited. So, you know, that leads us to the next segment of the show. If you guys are regulars with the shows that we do with Michael, you may have recognized or realized that there's no Brad here. So Brad was scheduled to come on and participate with Michael and I, because he's a Clapton nut too. But unfortunately, late last night, Brad had to do cover at his job. So Brad, bro, if you're watching from work, I know that he said that he would, but we'll do some shout outs to you during the course of the show. So I'm sure he'll put a comment in, but we miss you, bro. We do look forward to catching up with you and Michael. So that brings us to the next part of the introduction. Jeepers, when's this guy going to stop and when's Michael going to start talking? Okay. Because the 5150 show guys can't go ahead next weekend, Kurt has a family event to attend. It's a long weekend, or it's, you know, a 3-day holiday in the United States next weekend. And Michael can tell us what that is. I don't know, so forgive me. But Michael said, and we're about 80%, 90% locked in to do the reunion rankings show this time next week. So we'll confirm that. If you subscribe to Michael's channel, when I flick up his Instagram, at least follow Michael there. We'll confirm that within the next couple of days. But certainly looking forward to that. We've got some cats in the chat already, Michael. We've got Music Therapy Laz, who is a friend of the channel, a very good friend of the channel, Nelson Rodriguez. G'day, brother. Thank you for joining us. Another very, very good and constant follower of the channel, right from the word go. Arvin is here with us from Canada. Brothers, thank you for joining us, and we do appreciate you spending some time. Now, we are streaming on, obviously, our YouTube channel, but we are streaming also on the All About the Blues, home of the British Electric's Blues Show Facebook group. So you can find us there. And we are also streaming on the All Things Eric Clapton, the British Electric Blues Show, as well as a lot of other Eric Clapton groups that Michael has shared the stream to. So if you are watching on the Eric Clapton groups, we really appreciate you hanging out. We are Clapton Nuts. We're here to celebrate and talk about Eric Clapton. If you want to participate in the chat, please do. Throw some questions at Michael. I might be able to even answer a couple of them, and give us some suggestions for some shows that you might want us to do in the future, because, you know, Michael and I and Brad are talking about a couple of things, but we only want to do anything that you guys are interested in, besides what we're selfishly interested in.
It's a good idea to explore the British Electric Blues channel, British Electric Blues Show's YouTube channel, because you could see all the albums that we've already spoken about. We've spoken about a lot of Clapton albums: 461 Ocean Boulevard, 24 Nights. What else did you guys do? Live Cream, right? Yep. Or Live Cream 2? Which one was it?
Yep. Yeah, Live Cream Volume 2. We've also done a lot of shows on the Beano album as well. And, you know, we don't end the shows there. We'll revisit these albums and talk about facets of these albums as information becomes available and research becomes available, because it's always been unearthed. So, you know, it's not a full stop, these shows that we do. They're always going to be open. So thank you, Michael, for mentioning that. Subscribe to our channel, and in your leisure, go back and have a look and see what we've done. And we're always there to improve and offer some other choices that you guys think, you know, you think that we might be able to present to you. While we're talking about YouTube channels and Instagram channels, there's Michael there. I'll put his link to his YouTube channel also on the description here. So check out Michael there, but he's really active on Instagram and Facebook. So that's the place to be. Everyone's on Instagram, aren't they, Michael?
Yes, that's for sure. I just noticed the wall of guitars you have behind you. You've got a 335 of sorts, a Les Paul, a Firebird. Is that an actual Gibson 335?
No, so it's a Epiphone Pro 335.
My Les Paul, the block inlays on it.
Yeah. So it's what it came out a couple of years ago. It's the Epiphone Pro version, which is pretty good. You know, I got that for a good price, Michael, because you know, proper Gibson's, you know, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 here. My Les Paul is a Gibson, so that's great. And that there is an Epiphone inspired by Gibson. I got that a couple of months ago because of Clapton as well. So those are mainly because of Clapton. And then later on, I'll show you my Strat. We've spoken about Strats. You've got a Strat. If you're following Eric Clapton in the 80s, 90s, and the 2000s, you've got to have a Strat.
Did you see I just sold my Blackie Strat?
I was going to mention that to you. So we had a chat about that, didn't we? We shared a couple of comments. I had one too, and sold that to fund this. Because I didn't want two Clapton Strats, but I certainly wanted a Les Paul, and a good one, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I've had a couple of other ones. But having said that, though, this here is a Greco Les Paul that I got in February. It's a made in Japan copy, 75. Man, this plays just as good as my Gibson.
Wow. And how does the price compare?
I paid a fifth for that.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you for always love talking about my guitars. Yeah, that's what we're here about. That's what we're here for, to talk about guitars and tones. We've got Teresa in the chat all the way from Brazil. Hello, Teresa.
Obrigado.
And yeah, obrigado. I know that because I'm a Richie Kotzen nut, and he used to tour Brazil regularly.
He's amazing.
Man, he's just phenomenal. Hey, so before we get into the show, you mentioned in the green room that you've got some gigs and some dates booked in. So obviously you're going to be in a position to be playing, and probably in a position to be going to watch some gigs. You must be happy about that, Michael.
I'm very happy. We're still doing the distancing thing here in America and in New York right now. And gigs have their own guidelines. And I'm going to be playing at Tarrytown Music Hall in Tarrytown, New York. Beautiful venue that I attended 15 years ago. So it's really nice that I'm getting to play there with singer-songwriter Jan Close on June 13th. So that's going to be really awesome. An acoustic duo. And then 5 days later, I'm going to be at the Bitter End in Manhattan, New York, with Jan Close again. And we're just going to be doing his solo songs and a couple of covers. So it's going to be really great. But it's limited capacity, distanced. And I don't know if they're enforcing masks at this current time, but I think check the website or speak to the venue regarding that.
I suppose from a performing musician's perspective, you're just happy to get out there and be on stage, and so if you're performing in half the capacity that you would normally be doing it, I suppose that's better than nothing, Michael.
Oh yeah, so happy to be doing it. When I was doing it so regularly that when it goes from that to nothing, it hurts, and we're still feeling the effects of it, but very excited that it's coming back and it will grow to what it was. So looking forward, for sure.
Yeah. Well, stay safe, brother. We want everybody that participates with us in the show around the world. It's an important thing for us to share with each other. Be safe. Keep out of danger, and hopefully we can get back to some kind of situation that we were doing before. But in the meantime, we've got at least opportunities like this, Michael. To take advantage of. And that's been interesting. That's been really good, because a lot of musicians that I follow have been broadcasting, have been doing gigs, have been sharing a lot of their experiences online on Instagram. They've revealed a little bit more about themselves. So that's been pretty good.
I think that a lot of artists are going to continue to do the live streaming thing, in addition to, playing live in front of people, physically in front of people. I think that you can reach a lot of your audience that couldn't normally attend if they're in a different state, different country, different time zone, whatever. It's amazing what the internet can do. And I think that it's going to stay. And I know a lot of artists that are going to continue to do that. And I'm one of them.
Yeah. I think that's a good point to point out for people. It's about creating some kind of activity. especially if you're a performing musician and you're a professional. The music industry wasn't what it was, 15, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, where a record deal and the record company was everything. The musician today is multi-talented and multifaceted because you have to do a lot of the stuff generally yourself or with your management team, self-promotion, and that's a good thing. That, in fact, and for a lot of musicians, Michael, that's bread and butter.
Yeah. A lot of people are doing the DIY thing. It's the way.
Yeah. Well, it kind of makes me wonder. We've all read Clapton's biography and other artists' biographies, and they make reference to the fact that they never carried cash, so they never bought anything, they never paid rent, they never paid the deposit for any of the mansions. It was all done by their management team. When they wanted money, they just, somehow it was there. Things were there. Kind of interesting today when, you've got to do all that yourself, Michael.
Yeah. Got to be your own manager. You got to be your own promoter, your own design team. Yeah. And the musician or the artist.
We never spoke about this. I can't recall. My memory's pretty good. But did you ever indicate to us, and if you don't want to mention it, that's okay. But did you ever indicate to us your aspirations around music? Is that something that you want to pursue full time? Is that something, is that a goal?
Yes. If I'm not doing music in some capacity, whether that be producing or performing or accompanying, then I don't know what I'm doing. I've got to be doing something related to music.
Yeah, you're a pretty good writer too.
Thank you. Yeah, and writing about it too, interviewing people and talking about it and continuing the conversation about songs or albums or artists that we love. Just sharing that passion with other people is great, and you connect with people. Look, we connected, and you're in New Zealand, I'm in New York.
Yeah,
and we feel like we know each other.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's just based on the musical connection that we have, and it's amazing.
Yeah, this is something that I've always found interesting, certainly with the advent of the internet over the last couple of years. And we've spoken about it on other shows, Michael, the connection that you have with music fans. So, when I was a young guy growing up, music was a big part of, our lives. We would connect with people that liked our music. So straight away you had, okay, all right, so you like Clapton. Okay, you're cool. Come over here.
Mm-hmm.
And then, then you'd get a little bit wiser, a little bit more experienced and realize, okay, so this guy likes madness or he likes ska or dance music. I don't like it, but he's crazy about it. But because he's crazy about it and he's passionate for it, I get that. So he's still a cool cat, That's what I like about music. I like the fact that it's that passion because I have it. And when I discover that and see that in other people, I have straight away an instant connection. It's quite, maybe it's metaphysical. I don't know. But yeah. That's a separate show.
It's good.
Okay. We've got 5 people watching. We don't have anyone else new in the chat. But that's okay. We're happy with the people watching. We do get a lot of views after the fact too. So if you guys are watching the replay and you've managed to last 20 minutes. We appreciate that. I'll have Michael's social media accounts connected to this description, so please subscribe to where Michael is and participate in what he's doing. Share what he's doing, because he is an awesome guitar player, a wonderful guitar player. I've been fortunate to see him play. He's played on a lot of our streams. So check him out, and we'll have him back here, obviously, for a lot more Clapton shows. So the topic of this stream is we were going to talk about the 24 Nights tone, how we got that, how Michael got there. Brad was going to participate and share that too, because he's got some wonderful tips, but he can do that next week. So I'm going to sit back. I'm going to grab a Diet Coke, and I'm going to get Michael to play and to talk about his experiences, because that's what probably 90% of you are all here for. Michael, it's all yours, brother.
All right. So Clapton's sound for the 24 Nights shows is my favorite tone I think that he's ever had, next to the Beano tone, the Blues Breakers tone. They're very different, but they're both iconic. And I don't know which I can pick if I had to choose between one of them. What would you choose, Andrew?
Oh my gosh. I'm going to pick the Beano by a nose here, only because it was so revolutionary. It inspired a pantheon of English and American guitar players. So because of that, because of its historical place in history, that would be the reason. But emotionally, personally, the Journeyman tone, because I was there when that album came out, Michael. You know, I was listening to No Alibis and Pretending when it was being blasted on the radio. So, you know, that's my baby. Yeah, I hope. Yeah, by nose here, Blues Breaker. So you've asked me. I have to return the favor.
All right. So I'm gonna choose the Soldano Marshall sound from 24 Nights, because there's more music from that record that I connect with, I guess. I love everything on the Beano record, but I find myself listening to 24 Nights much more often, since it is my favorite live record. So my experience is that I listen to it a lot more, so I like it more. So yeah. So what Eric was using at that time, he was using a Fender Eric Clapton Stratocaster, but it was probably master built by Todd Krause, who is a master builder over at Fender. It could have been built by him or one of the other builders at Fender, but he surprisingly had the Eric Clapton signature at the top of his guitar. This is a watermark decal type thing, sticker that I put at the top of this guitar. And usually on custom shop or master built guitars, it doesn't have the artist's signature. So I was surprised that he kept that on that guitar. And he had a pewter Clapton Strat and a black Clapton Strat. And both of them had what we call flame on the neck. And that does nothing to the tone, to my knowledge. It just looks really pretty. It looks like your guitar is like reflecting in a mirror or something like that. It's really a gorgeous look for a guitar. And it inspired me to want to purchase one. And I'm on the hunt for one, as you know, for a custom shop or a master built. And I think that only the master built guitars come that way. but I think they run up in the 7-8 grand US dollar
Yeah.
range.
Yeah.
And that's not cheap. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm thinking of maybe ordering one through Todd Krause. So Todd Krause, if you're listening, hello. We love your work, and Eric does too.
So do we.
But before I go on to more of Clapton's sound and the gear he was using, I'm curious to what our listeners think. What tone do you like better from Eric? Either the Beano tone from the Bluesbreaker album or the 24 Nights Journeyman tone? Let us know in the comments, Beano or 24 Nights.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah. So at that time, around the late 80s, Eric Clapton ordered a Soldano amplifier head from Mike Soldano, who was the CEO and, well, actually former CEO of Soldano. I think he sold the company. But anyway, Clapton ordered the Soldano after playing Mark Knopfler's Soldano. I think Eric was just watching Mark Knopfler perform, and he loved the sound. And he thought that the sound was coming from Mark's guitar, but that actually wasn't the case. It was actually coming from the amplifier combination that Mark was using. And that was a Soldano SLO 100, which is probably their bread and butter. Oh, nice. Got some pictures. So this was Clapton's rig for the 24 Nights shows. He had two Soldano SLO 100s, and the cabinets were Marshall 1960 Bs. And B just means that it's not an angled cabinet. And I don't know if you can pull up a picture of an angled cabinet to show viewers what that looks like. But these are 1960B cabinets and a SLO 100 Soldano head. And to me, I think that is the cream of the crop for Eric's tone. It's just so buttery and smooth for a lead tone, and he can back off his volume and have perfect tone for the verses in any of the songs that he's playing. Almost similar to a Fender amp. I was even confused if he was using a Fender amp at that time, and there are some pictures of him with like a Fender Twin, a 57 Twin on stage during those blues shows. And if you have that Bonham's auction book where Eric Clapton sold his guitars and amps, you can see all the gear that he's used over the years. And I think that he did have a Fender Twin at those shows as well. So Andrew's holding up
that's the angled.
What an angled cabinet looks like. So that would be called a 1960A cabinet. So A just stands for angled, and B, I guess, for not angled. And that's what we're looking at the picture on the main screen here. So that was a big part of his sound. His Clapton Strat, the Soldano SLO 100, and the Marshall 1960B cabinets. And he had a spare just in case one of them blew up, even though that wasn't going to happen for an amp of such quality. Those amps were hand-built by Mike Soldano, and I'm sure Marshall gave him some good quality stuff as well. And he actually bought that Soldano head from Soldano. He didn't get it for free. A lot of times people think that these companies send you gear. I don't know, are you, you're pulling that up? A lot of times people or fans think that companies will just send artists gear, and sometimes that is the case, but Eric and his guitar tech, Lee Dixon, said that Eric paid for these amps. And it just goes to show, if someone puts in good work, you should pay them for it.
Yeah.
Even if it gets your brand name out there. If someone's helping you in some way, you should pay them for their service, for their hard work. And it took him 2 months to make that amp head. And he prioritized it as well. He had a lot
that was the only advantage Eric Clapton had over anybody else. Obviously, he had to pay for it, but it was the fact that it was for Eric Clapton. I think that Soldano bumped a few other jobs for Eric. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
And so because of that, Eric sent Mike Soldano, the CEO of Soldano, a pewter Clapton Strat actually signed by Eric. So that's pretty nice.
Wow.
And in return, Mike Soldano signed the amp head, something like "Keep Playing the Blues," signed by Mike Soldano. So that's really nice that they did that. They had a good rapport.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been speaking to Brad for a few months, and a Soldano amp is certainly something that he talks about. He doesn't talk about any other amps. He's got a couple of Marshalls there, but if there's one amp Brad wants, Michael, it's a Soldano.
Me too. They run about $4,000, I think, for the SLO 100s, and that's without a cabinet. You need a cabinet. So the cabinets, I think, run $1,000 for the Marshall 1960B. But one of these days, I'm gonna just splurge and get it, because I need to be Eric Clapton at 24 Nights, and I know a lot of you do too.
Have you played through a Soldano, Michael? Have you had the
yes
opportunity?
Yes. One of my first bands recorded in a studio about 20 minutes away from my house, and it was a rehearsal studio, and they just had a bunch of like room microphones set up and a bunch of amplifiers to choose from, and a jazz drum set that was tuned for jazz, not for rock. And our drummer didn't tune it or anything, but that's besides the point. There were a bunch of amplifiers, and I chose this place because they had a Soldano SLO 100 in the room. But obviously, I don't sound like Eric, and I didn't have the hall reverb, from Royal Albert Hall in my favor. So it was more of a dry sound, and it sounded good, but it didn't sound anything like Clapton from 24 Nights. And I wasn't playing Clapton from 24 Nights. We were playing original stuff, and this was 12, 13 years ago. But it was amazing just to be in the same room and be using a Soldano SLO 100. So maybe one day I'll get one.
Yeah.
Have you played one?
No, I haven't. I've played through some, various modeling amps. I like a lot of guitar players over the years have bought amps. My current amp at the moment is a Yamaha THR30. It's the Bluetooth practice amp, but my main amp is a Marshall Bluesbreaker, Michael, that I got April last year. So I'd love to get a Soldano too. I'm like you, but
How do you play that Bluesbreaker without breaking your eardrums, without shattering your eardrums?
Okay, so I have a universal aux box
attenuator.
Yeah. So it allows you to, but it's more than that too. And I also have, I also, hold on. I also got this as well, which is the 2 notes torpedo captor. So that's like an attenuator too. So you play that through your amp, but it gives you cabinet options as well. And so you just play through, obviously, you can hook it up to your headphones or play through your monitors. And the good thing about these bits of kit as opposed to a modeling amp is that you still get that space, that spring between the strings that only an amplifier can give you. So check out the Universal Aux Box if you guys haven't already. It's a great piece of kit to have if you don't want to upset your neighbors, but still get the versatility of what a tube amp can do. But Soldano, Michael, it certainly has a special place in my heart and my ear. very expensive amps here. It just, I'd hate to think what they would be here. They would be, but they're coming out with, I understand, a lunchbox. Yeah, a lunchbox.
That's already out. Yeah, the SLO 30.
So, have you had any feedback on that at all that you want to share?
I haven't played it, but I've seen a lot of good feedback. I've seen a lot of good comments and a lot of people sharing it on Instagram and a lot of people using it. And a lot of other genres use it more than I would expect, but it kind of makes sense that, metal players are using it because they want the high gain. Eric didn't use it for tremendous high gain. According to my friend Ben Stein, he thinks that Clapton dimed it on the clean channel of the SLO 100, not necessarily the gain channel, the high gain channel. Because he played one recently and he said he got pretty close to getting the sound. Yeah.
Okay, so you know how I'm just reading from my list here. So that rack that he was obviously using a Bradshaw foot controller. He had that Roland 700 synthesizer bank. He had compressors. He had a delay. He had a chorus.
Chorus is a big part. Even though it's a small part, it's a tremendous part of his sound. We should talk about that for a sec. He used a Dyno My Piano CS5 tri-stereo chorus. Try saying that 3 times. A Dyno My Piano CS5 tri-stereo chorus. Yeah. And it's a rack unit. It's not an actual floor pedal to my knowledge. Maybe they made it as a floor pedal, but he used a lot of rack units and it went to his pedal board, which actually was a Pete Cornish, I think, foot pedal board.
Pete Cornish or a Bradshaw?
I think Pete Cornish replaced the Bradshaw system that Clapton had.
Okay, cool.
I think that's what it is, but we can research it and confirm.
I think Cornish did. No, you're right. I think Cornish replaced the Bradshaw. Yes.
Yeah, and Pete Cornish is a master of guitar pedals and routing systems, and he's done stuff for David Gilmour. If you've seen David Gilmour's Pulse rack, that's unbelievable. It's like ground control for a guitarist. It's unbelievable. I mean, it looks like Clapton's, but Gilmour has even more effects. So Clapton used this tri-stereo chorus on a very low setting, a low rate or a low depth. And he had it on for a lot of songs, and it was just part of his sound. He didn't really use it as an effect for a specific section. He just kept it on for the whole song. And that's very interesting to me. So it just became part of his sound. And he was using chorus in the 80s. So I guess he kept that into the early 90s. And he kept using it on songs like Wonderful Tonight, but it's very prevalent on 24 Nights, the chorus sound.
Mm-hmm.
On Running
big
on
time.
Faith, Pretending. You could hear it on Bell Bottom Blues, for sure, Edge of Darkness. It's great. It just adds a chiminess to his sound, a great presence to his Strat sound. And it's immediately him. But chorus was also a very prevalent effect in the 80s, in the late 80s. Everyone was using chorus. They were using chorus on vocals. Pink Floyd was even using chorus on vocals. But a lot of producers and engineers were using chorus on drums, on vocals, on guitars. It just was part of the 80s sound. And I think maybe that's why Eric used it. But he also must have liked it, because to have that as part of your main sound, you've got to like it.
I've got a couple of questions for you, but just bear with me before I get to it. So it's interesting that you should talk about the chorus, because the album August is drenched in chorus. And he turns, obviously, the chorus down later on. So he's still got, obviously, as Michael has said, that chorus effect, but it's nowhere near as intense as, previous albums. I think he likes the space that effect gives you. I agree with you, Michael. He certainly had an affection for that effect as opposed to it being trendy. But I do have one burning question to ask you, because it's a question that's divided a lot of Clapton fans. In fact, I think Simon and I even had a conversation about it about 6 months ago. The Where's Eric .co website's a wonderful resource. But I'm only telling you what other people have told me. But some of the information on there is a little bit incorrect, and that's okay. That's fine, because nothing and nobody can be 100% perfect except for God, and neither of us are that. But Eric is. Anyway, that's just me being a bit silly. So on the Where's Eric page, it says that he was using a Boss heavy metal pedal. Now, I've raised that question in the past, and I've asked other people. And I've seen other people discuss it on other forums, the GearNet and other email groups that we used to have, where people are saying there's absolutely no way he was using that pedal. Do you have an opinion or any information that you can share with us, Michael?
I do not think that he was using that pedal at all. I think that he's getting his sound from his guitar, which has the onboard mid boost, and you can see him engaging the mid boost, turning it all the way up for thicker leads or distorted tones. And the amp can distort, when you turn it up, and I'm sure he had it up pretty high. As Ben Stein, another amazing guitarist, told me, he said that Clapton is probably diming that amp on the clean channel and getting, some natural tube breakup. That's probably what was happening.
I agree. I agree with you. And Ben. So Ben, top marks to Ben.
Yeah, and he's a great guitarist. You guys should have him on the show at some point. He would be great to talk to.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah, Clapton's tone at these shows was just unbelievable. And I definitely don't think that he was using a metal pedal at all. Like I said, he was using his onboard mid-boost to get those sounds, to get those mid-boosted sounds that we know. And you could just test it. If you own a Clapton Strat, then you know that that's probably what he was doing.
Yeah, so that's the next part of my question, I suppose, that we need to talk about. So you've got to if you want to get anywhere near playing some Clapton tones from that period, you can get a good overdrive pedal, and you can whack that on, and you can play that through a Blues Junior. I've done that. I did that a lot. I got the Tube Screamer and couldn't get anywhere near it with the Tube Screamer until I got the OCD pedal, which is more of a distortion pedal. So I got a little bit closer to that, but it wasn't until I started playing this. And because I was going through another phase where I started playing this with the mid boost, because I didn't use it for a long time because I was really interested, Michael, in just getting classic Fender tones.
Yes.
But then when I realized that using the mid boost, that's the key. That's the key for that tone, I think. And your guitar certainly has that, doesn't it?
Yeah. So this guitar has a Clapton loaded pickguard with vintage noiseless pickups in it.
Yep.
And it has the TBX control, which is the treble bass expander. And it also has the mid boost in the second tone. So it can go from thin to thick with a turn of a knob. And it's a really great feature if you don't want to bring around an extra pedal when you're performing, because you have an overdrive built into your guitar. And I think that's what Eric wanted. I think Eric likes to avoid using pedals as much as possible these days, unless it's a wah or a Leslie speaker.
Yeah.
So
Well, for the
yeah.
For the longest time, I and it takes a while, I think, for you to get your head around it as well, because it's not necessarily going to add a lot more volume to your amp. It just gives you a lot more breakup. It's yeah. Even though it says it's a 24 decibel boost, if you've got your amp at a reasonably good volume anyway, or even at a bedroom level, the great thing with that boost is that it just gives you that extra punch without creating too much volume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find myself not using the mid boost a lot, which is interesting. I figured I would use it, but I only really use it if I'm copying something that Clapton did, like in Badge, when he goes to an A minor chord of sorts, like an A minor sustained chord, and he kind of just lets it ring, very distorted, and then he turns off the mid boost and gets very quiet, and then he goes into the da-da-da-dum, he goes into the riff. That's just something that he does every time he plays Badge. So he uses the mid boost as an effect, kind of as like a crashing segue. It's very interesting. And he'll end songs that way too, where he just has the mid boost on full as a loud, closing statement.
Wow.
So yeah, he uses his guitar, as a voice. And he's always done that. And his Clapton Strat is very versatile. And when it first came out, it was probably the most versatile Strat that you could own, because of that mid-boost feature and the treble bass expander feature, the TBX. You could get even brighter tones than a normal Strat. It's an amazing guitar. And I owned one for 18 years. So I'm looking to get another one. Either a pewter or a midnight blue. So midnight blue would be custom shop or master build. So
yeah,
in the market.
I can't wait for Michael to get that and share the unboxing with us.
Oh my
that will be an event. I've got to tell you something though. I've got to share the story with you. So when I got my Clapton Strat, it's just a standard Clapton Strat, the Blackie, $4,000 here. I got that, and I've been a member of a couple of Clapton groups, and I took a photo of it and I put it on the group and said, "Yay!" And I got a couple of guys saying, "Congratulations, bro! Congratulations! Awesome guitar." And there was a couple of guys said, "Oh, is that a custom shop or is it a master built?" I'm going, "No." Oh, so yeah, so again, it just made me aware that there were differences in Clapton Strats that I had come across but didn't realize, and then I did some research on, oh my gosh, holy cow. so Clapton, he caters to all economic situations.
Yes. Different price points.
That's it. And you can even buy a good second. Hey, were you obviously you don't want to talk about specifics, but were you happy with what you got for your Blackie? You think that was a fair price?
Yeah. I got a good amount for that guitar. I kept it in great condition, so I did change the pickups on it, because I had told a story that when I first received the guitar, it came with vintage noiseless pickups.
Yes.
And since I was a 24 Nights fan and fanatic, actually, I would say, I was so upset to receive this guitar with vintage noiseless pickups because it didn't match the magazine. It didn't match the website. So I actually cried when I received the guitar with the vintage noiseless pickups. And so I did some research and I found out that he was using Fender lace sensors. I think they were called Fender lace sensors at the time, rather than just lace sensors, which I think is what they're called now. And I bought 3 gold lace sensors, and my dad, who's an engineer and just understands all that wiring stuff and soldering, he installed it for me. Thanks, Dad. And he might be watching
Wow.
it.
Wow.
Yeah. So he did it in, short amount of time. And I was like, yes, my guitar is saved. I can play it now. But, I was a 12, 13-year-old kid at that time. And that stuff was very important to me. And that was my first real expensive guitar in, the over $1,000 range. So it meant a lot to me for it to be right. And it eventually was right. And it played great. And I feel like it improved my playing because the neck on it is so comfortable. And we should talk about that for a second, that the necks on these Clapton Strats are what they call a soft V. I don't know why I'm doing that, but they're a soft V. And that's based off of Clapton's Blackie Strat, his 57 Franken Strat that he built from 3 Strats. And that was the best neck that he had on his Fenders. And who knows, that's probably the same specs or very close to what Blackie was. So we get to feel what Blackie is like.
Yeah. Look. I think you've hit the nail on the head. When you're 12, 13, or 14, looks in guitars is a big thing. Why not? And even now, why do you think we get Eddie Van Halen guitars? Because it's that they look cool. Why do you think you get Les Pauls? And Strats. That's an important part. Taylor 315, thank you for joining us. I do have some issues though with the Clapton Strat. If you guys followed my post, I managed a couple of weeks ago to get a 3-ply pick guard for my Clapton Strat, and replacing a pick guard's relatively easy. So I did that because what was happening is the pickups, because they come standard with a single ply, start moving around as the scratch plate buckles a bit. So that is a drawback. I think with the Clapton Strats, that single ply scratch plate is,
yeah. Congrats, that looks great.
Yeah, thank you. And it's a relatively easy mod. I'm not particularly, what's the word, talented when it comes to doing a lot of modifications. I can, set up guitars. I'm willing to give it a go, Michael, as opposed to what I was, doing 5, 10, 15 years ago. And that's all thanks to the internet too. There's a lot of guys out there sharing the information on how to do setups. So have a go.
Yeah, YouTube.
I can't solder though.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't trust myself with a soldering iron. No. No. So I think we've covered a lot of the 24 Nights tone. I think the last thing we should maybe mention, his wah. I think he was using a Crybaby wah. According to the Bonham's auction website, he had a Crybaby pedal, I think with this serial number, CB487671. I tried looking that up, but the only thing that came up was this, that listing, which was the Bonham's auction. So that's probably the serial number. So he was using Crybaby just as he was using Crybaby in the 60s and 70s. So he likes that company, Dunlop, a lot. And he's used Dunlop at the Cream reunion shows as well, the 2005 reunion. And I think he used the wah pedal at one or two of the shows in London, but he didn't use it on White Room for the DVD, which was very surprising. You think that right when he's about to, go into the solo, that he's going to step onto that wah pedal and give us something like the original solo or that original texture, but he just did it his way, which is his thing. He'll always do it his way, and we respect him for it. There's a reason he didn't use it. He wasn't feeling it, I guess. But he gave a great solo in that performance from 2005. In New York, I actually got to see Cream. Yeah, on the first night. So that was pretty emotional, pretty moving. And he was using a Jimi Hendrix signature wah pedal. It was also Dunlop. And because of that, I bought one because it was a nice thick wah tone. And I just, at that point, when I was, in 2005, I was 14. When I was very young, I needed to have all of the gear that Eric had. Maybe not all the expensive gear, but the less expensive gear, I tried to buy as often as I could. And thanks to my parents for allowing me to do that.
Sure.
So I would get something like the Jim Dunlop Jimi Hendrix pedal, which was $100 to $200, and I would use it for a song like White Room when I was playing it. And I would have to get whatever he was using, and I would look at where'seric.com to see what he was using on the 2004, 2005, you name it, tours, to see what he's using. And he was pretty much using the same things with, some small changes in guitars or pedals. And I would have to check out those pedals and maybe even purchase them. So when I was young, I was buying a lot of that stuff.
So did you detect significant tone changes between the Hendrix wah and other Crybaby wahs that you've played,
Yeah.
Michael? Wow.
It's a thicker tone. I have the 535Q Dunlop wah, and that just allows you to select different wah thicknesses. So it's a very versatile pedal, and it's one that I use a lot. I use it in the second position. It's a really, really versatile pedal. Say one night, a very thick tone, you can have, the knob engaged all the way, or do whatever you're feeling. And the other great thing about that pedal is it has a boost on the side of it. It's like a red knob or a red, indent that you can just push in, and you get a little boost as well. So not only do you get a different texture, you get a volume boost as well. So it's a really great pedal, the 535Q by Dunlop. I think they're still making it. So you can probably approximate a tone similar to the Jimi Hendrix Dunlop wah on the 535Q. So that's one of my favorite Dunlop wahs. And I have, I think, just like the GCB 95, which is the original flagship Dunlop wah. And that's just that has one setting, but it's just great. It's classic. And there's a reason that people like Clapton and Slash and everyone in between use it. Do you have a Dunlop wah as well, or?
I had, just hold on for 1 second.
Sure.
I had a Vox wah, and sold it, and I've got yeah. So I've got the EVH wah, which I liked. Now it might think, oh, okay, Andrew's a EVH nut. That's why he got it. But I played this in the music store, and I liked the fact that it wasn't sharp. It wasn't sharp to my ears, Michael. It wasn't an icy wah. I liked it because it was flat. there was a nice hump to the way that it sounded. I don't like anything icy. I don't like it too sharp. I don't like anything that's punching in my ear, and
Right.
this certainly doesn't do that.
That's just the Van Halen wah or 5150 wah. What is it called?
It's just the EVH wah. So
And is it
and that
EVH brand, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and that works well. I tried a couple of wahs, but I'm certainly keen. I've just made a note of that wah that you've spoken about, the 535Q. I am going to check that out. I had no idea it had a boost on it. So is that
yeah.
is that it there, is it?
No. This is my main wah. This is a full tone Clyde. I think it's Clyde McCoy.
Oh, yeah.
Missing the back. I don't know how that happened, but this is my full tone Clyde McCoy wah. And I think I read somewhere that Eric was using a full tone wah. I don't know if he was, because I don't know where I found that. But again, when I was younger, I would read something and then I would ask my parents if I could buy it, because that would help me become Eric Clapton, even though that's not an ideal or not something that I should be doing. But anyway, they allowed me to purchase this, and I found that it was just an incredible wah pedal for the 24 Nights Journeyman stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's perfect. But it's just slightly better than the 535Q at nailing Journeyman and 24 Nights. Just slightly better. But the 535Q by Dunlop is more versatile, because you can have all those different wah thicknesses, like I said, and it has the boost. I love this pedal. And I used it when we did a Clapton show, the Clapton is Godfrey show with Godfrey Townsend 2 years ago, almost to the date. We did it on May 19th, 2019. And that's actually on YouTube if you guys want to check that out, where I get to play Pretending, and I'm doing the solo from 24 Nights. So really cool. And I'm using this full tone Clyde McCoy wah. And Clyde McCoy, I think, was a trumpet player who used a wah pedal. And a lot of trumpet players use a mute to create that wah sound. But I don't know if Clyde McCoy or Tess McCoy, I could be confusing it, was just miking it, and the amplified sound was going into a wah pedal, and then they made this wah pedal in his honor. I don't know the history of it. It's been a while since I've looked into that, but after this, I'll be looking that up.
Cool. Can you when you get a chance, send me a link to that video that you just mentioned earlier about you, and I'll put that link on this description.
Great. Yeah, you can type in Clapton is Godfrey 2019, and you'll find it on YouTube in a second. And it's like a 2.5 hour concert with like a 10-piece band, like 4 guitarists. It's awesome. It was so awesome. And we played Clapton stuff, Cream stuff, Derek and the Dominoes, pretty much all of Clapton's career.
Wow.
And I'm featured on about 10 of those songs. So I was very honored to be included in that by Godfrey Townsend, who is awesome at being Clapton. And that's why he has the name Clapton is Godfrey. And he was Jack Bruce's guitarist for, the last years of Jack's life.
Sure.
Yeah. Super awesome player.
Check that out, guys. I when I discovered Michael, I I've seen exactly what Michael's talking about, but I will put a link to the description for you guys so that you can follow that, because it's well worth watching. It's as Michael said, but I'm saying you're in for a treat. It's fantastic.
Yeah. You'll hear that full tone McCoy wah in action. And you'll see me playing my Blackie Strat, which I just sold, going into my Fender Hot Rod Deluxe amp. So imagine I had a Tweed Hot Rod Deluxe. So it looks like I'm playing through Clapton's Tweed Twin, but I'm not, for 1/3 the price, and getting a sound kind of close. Not exactly, but it's cool. It was really cool. Playing a Blackie through a wah, pretending. I mean,
Wow.
it can't get any better than that. So, yeah. I think we've spoken pretty much at length about the 24 Nights tone. Is there anything that we're missing?
No, it's it's always a pleasure to hang out and share this information. I'm certainly going to check that wah out. It's pleasing and satisfying to know that Michael is of the belief that Clapton wasn't using that metal zone pedal. And it's good to know that some of the thoughts that we may have had over the years about whether or not Clapton was actually playing through the clean channel and using his mid boost is backed up by other people, because the gain on those Soldanos is pretty gainy from all accounts that I've read. So if he was going through that gain channel, jeepers, Michael, the gain would have been down to about 1 or 2, if he was.
He wouldn't need his mid boost at all, probably.
Yeah. But Michael's, pointed out the fact that if you look at a lot of the video clips around that era, what's Clapton doing? He's fiddling with those knobs on his Stratocaster all the time. So I think the research that Michael has provided there backs up the view of some Clapton fans, and it just goes to prove too that not everything you read, not everything you see on websites is kosher. You guys might remember that we were lucky enough to have Michael admit that when he got his amplifier, he rushed and put all those settings from the Where's Eric website, and didn't sound anything like Eric Clapton.
Right. So what you're referring to is I have a Line 6 Pod XT.
Yeah.
Let me just hold it up for a second. Hold on.
Sure.
It's one of these things.
Yes. Hold on. I'm going to present you so people can. Yeah. Awesome.
I love this thing.
Yes.
Because it allows me to simulate different amplifiers and different effects. And I can approximate a tone from my favorite guitarists.
Yes.
Or make up my own tone for myself for different songs as I please. It's really awesome. There's a lot of different amp settings, and that's old. That's like 15, 16 years old. But that is probably what got me interested in tone. Even though it's a digital thing and everyone says that analog is the way and it's the only way, you can get a tone that's pretty good. I think really good from a Line 6 Pod XT into an amplifier, into a PA system. If you can just experiment and A/B with the original recordings, you might get close. And with a lot of experimenting, I think I did get close. And I think next week, if we do another one of these where we talk about the Cream reunion tracks, I'll demonstrate that with Brad and yourself.
Yeah. Look, I agree with you. I think the modeling technology has come significantly close to authenticity. But look, I agree. If you A/B, Michael's hit the nail on the head. Get your Yamaha, get your line, get your pod farm or whatever, and A/B and fiddle and tweak. the settings that people give on the forums or on Facebook groups are good places to start. You have to have somewhere to start, so, and that's good, because it gives you that recognition or that comfortable place that you're starting from somewhere, that someone has indicated as a good idea. So start from there, and just as Michael said, use your ears, and use a completely different amp situation to get something that you'd think maybe would never be anything close to what Clapton was using. Like, for example, the EVH setting on the Yamaha THRs are pretty close to the Soldanos. So, because that's what they're built on. So that, to my ear, sounds pretty good, to some of those no alibi tones that Clapton was getting live. And there's a lot of gain there on that intro that he plays. It's not distorted. It's not distorted gain, but there is a lot of gain going on, and it's remarkable. Just use your ears. Good advice, Michael.
Yeah. I looked at Where's Eric, and I used a setting, or I created a setting on my pod to simulate a Soldano SLO 100 going into a Marshall cabinet. And then I copied the settings from where'seric.com. And did it sound like Eric at 24 Nights? No, it didn't. And like you said, you got to use your ears. You also have to realize that Eric's guitar sound is being blended with drums, bass, other guitars, pianos, vocals, room microphones, and then everything is being mixed and enhanced. And when I spoke with mixer Alex Haas, who mixed 24 Nights, he said he put compressors on Eric's guitars to warm them up and make them less harsh. At some points, Eric's guitar became harsh. And anyone knows that if you step on a distortion pedal, the guitar tone can become harsh. And that's the last thing that you want your listeners to hear. You don't want harsh tones. You were mentioning like ice picks. You don't want that sound from a wah. You don't want that sound from a guitar or any instrument, unless it's intended.
And that's one of the reasons why, Michael, I couldn't get anything close with a Tube Screamer, because it was too icy for me. It wasn't until I got the OCD, the full tone OCD, and I regret selling that pedal. I need to replace that. But that I could get a lot of different tones with that pedal. I was getting good open G Keith Richards tones with that when I was playing through my Vibrolux. Fantastic pedal.
That's one of the best drive pedals out there.
Yeah.
I don't own
I agree with you.
And they sound fantastic. That company has had a couple of issues, some PR issues recently that viewers can look into, but they do make really great pedals. And yeah, that's all I can say. They did have some PR issues, but amazing pedals otherwise.
Yep. Yeah. So I think what Michael's saying is, if you guys want to tune in, we'll confirm whether or not we're going to go live this time next week. There's a good chance that we will, because a show that we've got scheduled can't go ahead, and Michael's going to check his diary and confirm. If you sub to Michael's Instagram account, we will confirm that. And Brad and I will be here, and then Brad can offer his interpretation and his experience on getting that 24 Nights tone, because he's been trying to nail that for years. And I know that Brad was really excited, and I'll give you guys a spoiler. The way that Brad gets that tone, it's quite simple. It's pretty good. It's a simple place, and check it out. You got to have a Marshall amp though, because that's all Brad plays. But I'll let him talk about how he's developed that tone. Look forward to that.
Me too. According to the Bonham's auction website, when Eric sold his 24 Nights rig with the amps and the pedal board and all those effects, according to the listing, it said that he had a TC Electronic 2290 delay. And surprisingly, I don't hear any delay on any of those recordings.
That's correct.
I don't really hear any delay on any of those songs from 24 Nights. If anything, I hear reverb, but according to mixer Alex Haas, he added reverb in post. He had chamber reverbs that he would add, and he would also add the room microphones, the microphones placed around the Royal Albert Hall, which create this natural room hall reverb. And that's what we're hearing, and that's part of what makes Eric's sound so amazing.
Yeah.
So I don't hear any TC Electronic 2290. Maybe it was in his rack, but I don't hear it. Another thing that Bonham's auction site listed in this rack was a Dynacord CLS 222 Leslie simulator.
Yes.
And I don't hear that either.
No.
Do you hear a
No.
Leslie? I don't even hear a Leslie on badge. I don't think he used it. The chorus I hear. The chorus is something that he must have had on a lot. There was a Yamaha GEP multi-effect processor. Don't know what that did. A Roland SDE 3000 digital delay. Again, don't see why he had two delay rack units if he didn't use either of them. And then lastly, a TC 1210 spatial expander, which they now sell as a plugin. So that's cool. But again, Clapton's sound was processed by the front of house mixer, Robert Collins, and then it was also processed by Alex Haas, who mixed 24 Nights. So there's some processing there. So we don't hear his tone exactly as it was heard in the Royal Albert Hall. Maybe hearing a bootleg or like a BBC broadcast, you would hear closer to what it sounded like, but it sounds pretty close. The 24 Nights recordings are the definitive audio recordings, but the BBC ones give a good picture as well.
Yeah, and some of the live shows, like the live show in Argentina, is pretty good for research purposes too.
Yeah, there's like no reverb on that. That's a direct mix, or like a soundboard mix.
Yeah.
It's a great show. I know you love that show.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
River
Plate,
phenomenal. Right?
Yeah, it's just phenomenal. They're on fire, man. Just
yeah.
It's just phenomenal.
Yeah. He's playing Running on Faith, and that may be the first song in the set. Even is Fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was having a good night that night.
Yeah. A few smiles there, and that deadly serious look that he gets too when he gets locked in. But very much the leader of that band. You see everybody, everyone's looking at Eric Clapton, man. Everybody.
Yeah, that is for sure. So I think now we've covered everything regarding Clapton's tone on 24 Nights.
Yeah.
Now that we've mentioned all the units in his rack and his guitars, his amps. The only thing I don't know is his cables. I've surprisingly never have been interested in that, or his picks. I think he uses medium picks, and picks do have a role, or do play a role in your sound, and you can experiment with that. Especially if you record with it, you can hear a difference. But I think he uses medium picks. Yeah.
So 2005. So I forget where I was, Michael, and thank you for that in-depth presentation and discussion on 24 Nights. And guys, it's not going to end here. There's more. We'll talk about this more on future shows as well too. Um, so I forget where I was when I found out that the Cream reunion tour was going ahead, Michael. So obviously being a Clapton nut, I was excited. I was so excited. I remember having some conversations with some friends who shared the same passion as I did at the time. And I remember a good friend of mine, Stephen Oldfield, and Steve, if you're watching this, I remember him saying very clearly, I hope they don't do this just for the money and it just sounds horrible. And I forget the example that he gave me, but there were some bands that had reformed around 2003, 2004, and the tours stopped after about 4 or 5 gigs, Michael, because it was just bad. There was no attendance. I think the Cars reformed, and it was a disaster. I think the Police reformed too, and it was just a disaster, Michael. So I remember, we were hoping, oh my gosh, we hope that this is going to be great, because everybody who was a Clapton nut or a 60s rock music nut had a soft spot for Cream.
Yeah. I got into Cream that year. So imagine that. I was 14 in 2005, and I was just getting into Cream, listening to things like Crossroads and Strange Brew and White Room. I always knew White Room because I was a Clapton fan, but I really got into Cream in 2005. And in May, when they were doing these shows, obviously I found out about that, but I wasn't aware of the hype before it really. Again, that was kind of also when the internet was just starting to take off as well,
Sure. Yep.
because that was like the beginnings of YouTube in 2005-ish. And also with Where's Eric, that's when I started paying attention to that site. So that was a very important time for me, 2004, 2005, digging into guitarists' equipment and tone and things like that, and also watching them on YouTube and researching that way and exploring an artist's catalog or discography. So yeah, YouTube and Where's Eric at that time were huge for me. And eventually the Cream reunion DVD came out like shortly after. So I was watching that over and over and over again because it was a new DVD. Whenever I got a new Clapton DVD, I studied it, just studying what he was doing pretty much at that time. And then there was an announcement that Cream was coming to New York. And so I had to go see them. And we luckily and fortunately were able to get tickets. We got 4 tickets, two for my dad and myself, and 2 for my mom and my sister. We couldn't get 4 seats together, so we had two and two on 2 sides of Madison Square Garden. Could you imagine that?
Wow.
So we were all there, luckily, but we were separated. But I remember my sister was sitting with my mom, and my mom told us or texted us saying that my sister Brooke fell asleep during Sleepy Time on some guy's shoulder. How amazing. She just fell asleep. And the guy didn't, fight it. He was just like, all right, it's fine. My sister was, oh my gosh, she was 9.
And this is the sister that's
9.
graduated recently.
Yeah, my sister just graduated master's school.
Congratulations.
Congrats to Brooke.
Congratulations, Brooke.
So yeah, we were able to attend the first night of the Cream reunion in New York, and it was very exciting. But let's talk about the actual reunion in 2005 at London, because that's, to me, where the magic was. So you heard about all the rumors beforehand, and you were excited and hyped up from it. Can you tell me anything you remember from then?
just been excited and participating in conversations, Michael. That we, wanted it to be a success, obviously. Um, yeah, and I have to echo exactly what you said. I remember the internet was becoming a dominant tool around that time too. So participating on some forums. At that time, they were email groups actually back then. They would send email digests so you could subscribe to the daily emails or the weekly, and sit there and go through and read everyone's opinions. And back then, you had to be a little bit, I suppose, articulate in what you were saying. You couldn't just like on Facebook go, right, oh, that sucks or that's great. You had to actually write some sentences.
Right.
um,
They were
mm,
forums back then, and they
yeah,
still exist.
yeah, and I remember watching through them, and I remember the big discussion was whether or not the guys were going to use
They're old
the
too.
their old gear. I remember that was a big discussion, and we can talk about that. I'm glad that they didn't, because Jack Bruce's biography gives us probably a lot more information, even though it's only a couple of sentences, than what Eric does.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, in Eric's biography, he doesn't have a lot to say about the 2005 reunion. So, Eric, when you watch this later on this evening, you need to update your biography. Michael and I want an update. This is 20 years old now, this biography. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we need an update.
He had the flu for those shows. He had the flu for the first 3 shows, and then
That's correct.
by the fourth
Yeah.
show, he was feeling better, and it showed. It for sure showed. Because that final show on May 6th, 2005, was the pinnacle, I think. 10 of the songs, or 10 plus songs from that night, from those performances, made it to the DVD. That's how good they were. Can you imagine? 10 performances from one show, or more than 10, made it to DVD. I think there's 19 songs on the DVD CD of Cream 2005.
Yep. And any other mere mortal would have postponed or cancelled. But clearly, the ticket prices and the people that, were going to the gig, that wasn't an option. But that is one point that he talks about in his biography, that he was out. He can't remember those 3 gigs because he was just
Right.
Yeah.
If I had the flu, there's no way I would be able to sing. So props to him.
Wow.
I mean, how could anyone sing and sing as well as he did for the first 3 nights?
Oh,
Amazing. Some of the best performances from that DVD are from the first 3 nights. And Eric's voice is really great. And he sings on White Room on that second night where he was wearing the black shirt. And I liked all of those shirts that he was wearing. They all had the double pockets.
so
And that's
if you have a look at
that's the reason I'm wearing this shirt.
If you have a look at Michael's shirt there, ladies and gentlemen, that's the style there that we're talking about there.
It wasn't short sleeve though, so I'll just hide my arms. Yeah, he had a couple of these shirts in different colors: black, this color blue, and a darker blue, maybe even purple. And yeah, the cool look, and that even affected me, and I had to buy clothes like him, and I'm sure a lot of other people bought shirts like that as well. When you go to a Clapton show, you see a lot of people dressed like Clapton with just a collared shirt and jeans, very relaxed look. And you can't have it tucked in either. You have to have it like untucked, just very relaxed and cool. But back to what we were talking about. I've already forgot what we were talking about. We were talking about Eric having the flu and performing, that well during the shows. So we should first mention, before the actual reunion in 2005, they had a smaller and shorter reunion in 1993 when Cream was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Yeah, that's the shirt. That's the shirt from the second night. I think that's black from here. Looks
Yeah,
like
it looks black.
tinted
Yeah.
green. Yeah, that's the night that they got Deserted Cities of the Heart and White Room and Sleepy Time Time. Yeah, that's him singing White Room. And you could see he looks sick. He looks
Yes.
under the weather. And he gives a great performance of White Room, and he sings completely in tune.
Yeah.
Very, very impressive. And sometimes the show must go on, and he showed that it was possible. But obviously, if you're too sick to do it, a show, and you don't want to get your bandmates sick, then definitely don't do that. Do what's right for you and your company.
Sure.
But anyway, what we were saying was that Cream had a smaller reunion in 1993 when they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yep.
And that was a very interesting show if you saw it. I think they rehearsed for an hour or two before that, maybe the day before, and they were really excited to get back together. I think at that time it was 25 years since they last played. So they broke up in 1968, and so 1993 would be 25 years. Yeah, that's I think how old the band has to be inducted. 25 years, the band or artist, into the Rock Hall. So for that show, I think they played Sunshine, Crossroads, and Born Under a Bad Sign. And Clapton was still using his Soldano, but not Marshalls. He was using Soldano SLO 100, the famous SLO 100 that we were talking about for 24 Nights. But he was using a Soldano cabinet. And it was a double stack. So 2 cabinets instead of 1. So that was pretty cool, and probably just a nod to the old days. And Clapton gives us a short speech when they're inducted, and Jack Bruce is very honored as well and gives a nice speech as well. And Ginger keeps it very short. But anyway, the point of the story is they played their 3 songs, and we pretty much thought that that was it. And we didn't really hear much until, I guess, 2004-ish, when Clapton dreamed up this idea of getting Cream back together for a couple of shows. And I think that Clapton would talk to a lot of interviewers and a lot of friends who would say, hey, are you thinking about doing a reunion with Cream? You guys think you could do a couple of shows? And he kind of just pushed it to the side. And then he started to have these thoughts himself. Maybe we should do it because we all still can. We're all still healthy. Jack Bruce had recently had some operations, I think maybe a liver transplant. And he wanted to do this reunion, while everyone was still alive and healthy and still performing. So he called up Jack and Ginger, and I think maybe Ginger initially said no. I think Ginger was afraid of having arguments like the old days with Jack. Jack and Ginger used to fight a lot, and a lot of it was regarding onstage volumes. Jack used to have his Marshall stacks, and I think that ticked off Ginger a little bit. Ginger was very concerned about his hearing, and I think blamed Jack Bruce for hearing damage or hearing loss over the years. So I think that's why Ginger was a little reluctant or hesitant to do the reunion. I read somewhere else, maybe in a Forbes magazine or Forbes website, that Ginger had initially wanted to do the gigs possibly for the money, and Eric wasn't about that. Eric wanted to do it for them and not, for the monetary reason. But I would definitely double confirm that from a website like Forbes magazine or from Ginger Baker's biographies and autobiographies. There's tons of Ginger Baker books out there, and Ginger Baker's channel posts about it all the time. So you definitely can find the true answers there. So Jack definitely wanted to do the gigs, and Jack also thought that it would be a good idea if Cream maybe even came out with a new album. And how amazing that, would that have been? If Cream came out with a new album, what would have it been called? Hello Again? We're Back? Because their last album was Goodbye. So that would have been interesting, coming up with the title for that album and coming up with the album cover for that. I think that would have been interesting. But we are very fortunate that they reunited for them and for us. And
Yeah, I agree. I agree, Michael. I think Clapton was going through this period of self-discovery, certainly as a result of his sobriety, and one of the key steps in being part of that is renegotiating some of the examples, some of the situations that you've had in the past. And he talks about that a little bit in his biography, doesn't he? That he wanted to go back and mend some of the relationships that he had. And I think this Cream reunion was certainly, I wouldn't call it a selfish thing, but it was certainly about Eric Clapton being in a situation that he could be a participant of in a positive way with a band that gave him so much. Cream was really, really important to Clapton and his career. That's a fact. And we all know as Clapton nuts that Eric found it distasteful. He would get physically sick being in the middle of the arguments and the fights. And when Blind Faith formed and Ginger walked in to the room and he got that same feeling again, and he could tell that Ginger was back on smack, and he just, it was like, oh, so, all credit to Eric realizing that after 25 years, maybe they could be in a situation where they could put aside some of these personal things. I agree with what you said, Michael, that there was element of volume that affected Ginger, and his relationship with Jack was around that. But I think there was a personal thing there too, that sometimes that guys have that they can't deal with, or you find strategies to work out. And the fact that Jack had survived an operation put them all, I think, into a position where, well, look, let's renegotiate this legacy, because it's probably something that we can do for ourselves as well. I did read though that it had a little bit of something to do with money, Michael. I think I read or got told that Eric was also concerned and wanted to make sure that Jack Bruce at least had some money, even though he was getting some income as a songwriter.
Mhm.
But yeah, maybe you can back that up or give an opinion. But look, if that's one of the reasons why they reformed, well, that's not a bad thing, is it?
No, I'm not sure the reason on Jack's end, but he was getting songwriting credits because he wrote a lot of the songs with Pete Brown.
Sure.
And Eric and Ginger didn't get a lot of credit, even though they play on the tracks. I'm sure they were getting a percentage, but nowhere near what Jack and Pete Brown were getting for writing the lyrics and a majority of the music.
Yep.
So I'm not sure if Jack's reason was monetary, but it definitely helped. And those gigs were, high price tickets.
Yes.
Four gigs in London, and then 3 gigs in New York. And I think the ticket prices in New York were in the several hundreds, which is nothing compared to London, because they thought that those were the only 4 that were happening. So I know someone who paid like $1,000 or $2,000 per ticket. Forget which it was.
Wow.
Very big Clapton fan who goes to a lot of the big concerts. Yeah, and he was at all 4 of them in London. Imagine. I mean, thank God we have this DVD. And recently, I don't know if you've seen this, and this is a good heads up for everyone watching. There's a channel on YouTube called the Slow Hand Archives. Have you seen that? The Slow Hand Archives. And there's a couple of people who administrate it. And one of the guys is Michael Sawin, Sawin. And he is an archivist, and he's attended a lot of these Clapton shows and has filmed them. And he works with people fans who have attended shows, and they take in your videos and they touch them up and they enhance the video and they enhance the audio, and then they post it for all of us Clapton fans to enjoy. And recently, I would say last year, they put up all 4 Cream reunion shows from London, all 4. And fans haven't ever seen that. We've only known what was on the DVD. We've only seen those performances. Because again, if you remember, this is 2005. Cell phone technology was not good. You couldn't record a concert on your phone. It would sound terrible at that time. And I remember recording things on my phone at concerts, and it just was terrible. There would be no way for me to upload it to YouTube, without it being terrible quality. And like I said, the camera quality and the audio quality of these phones was horrible. So you would need to have an actual, point and shoot camera or a video camera. And getting a video camera into a gig or a high profile gig like that would be impossible. But some people did it, and thank you for doing that. And I hope these videos don't get taken down now for me exposing them. If anyone from the labels is watching, I'm not going to mention because they have taken down my posts.
Yeah, rat bags. We're not going to mention them.
But we thank people that bring these shows to people that could not attend, for concerts that are a lot of money and concerts that are all over the world, and bringing these amazing experiences to people and sharing this love and passion for Eric and Cream in this case. So It was amazing to see these 4 shows, and you watch them from beginning to end. And I'm taking notes and I'm saying, was this the best version of I'm So Glad? Or did they choose that for the DVD? I wanted to see if my decision was in line with the producer or executive producer's decision. And they were pretty much right. I agree with their choices. Have you watched any of those concerts, the 4 concerts?
Yes, I want to back Michael up. You guys need to go and watch them. They're phenomenal.
Yeah, and the audio quality is fantastic. And people are complaining that the audio is not good. But you're in the Royal Albert Hall. Before they, again, with 2005 technology, on someone's camera, sitting, far in the rafters, we have to be grateful that these people recorded it for future viewing and hearing.
Yeah, sometimes what's really important, and I think this is where the true diehard Clapton fans or Cream fans will probably agree. Just watching them, seeing them perform, watching that interaction, seeing Clapton, the way that he's standing, the way that he plays, that's just as important as the sound quality, So, I've always loved watching Clapton play, and so from that point of view, the footage is fantastic.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And for someone to be recording a 2.5 hour show, that's a lot of work to hold a camera as steady as possible without a tripod. I'm sure that they didn't have a tripod because you couldn't bring that into a venue. And they were recording it for DVD, so they were probably strict on that. Venues are always strict on that unless the artist allows it. People like John Mayer encourage it. And I think
Yes.
that if you allow your audience to record, it gives you more exposure. But I think that artists are concerned that you're not living in the moment and you're not watching with your own eyes. You're watching through a camera and you're not experiencing it. So I get that side of it too. But if you're sharing it with other people, that's just helping the artist. So that's my stance. So thank you, Michael Saywin. Thank you, Slowhand Archives, for doing that and sharing this knowledge, because you get to see Clapton playing a wah on White Room.
Yep.
Having not seen it with the DVD. The DVD, he's just playing his Strat into amp. He doesn't step on the pedal for the solo. So you get to hear what that sounds like. So you get to see all these variations. And as you know, Clapton doesn't play any solo the same way twice. So you're getting to hear all of these stories from Clapton. And by stories, I mean his playing from song to song and how it changes from night to night. And sometimes he's more inspired than others. And you can see, how he reacts from night to night. And that's the beauty of having these bootlegs. And yeah, again, we're thankful. So check that out if you haven't done so already. So
I agree.
Before the London reunion, they rehearsed for a month, which I think Clapton is very against rehearsing. Clapton has always been flying by the seat of his pants. I think he doesn't need to rehearse because he's been playing for 50 plus years. And the people that he works with are also master musicians. So there's probably minimal rehearsals that he does with them. But with Cream, they needed to get their, playing back up to speed because they haven't played together in 37 years, besides the reunion show in 1993, which was just a one-off show. So in order to get it back up to speed, they rehearsed for a month. And a lot of it was getting cues in place after their long extended jam sessions. And their extended jam sessions became a little bit condensed. And that might be a sign of their age or their musical maturity, maybe they were less inspired as they were back in the late 60s. What do you think? What do you think their reason for the less extended jams was?
I think what they needed to do is they needed to make sure that they were dealing and giving a package, Michael. So, and that was important, So, I think they realised the commercial side of things. 2005, a lot of smart managers, the DVD, the CDs, the LPs had to be succinct. They wanted to have obviously a lot of the songs, because that's always important, to have a variety of songs as opposed to like 4 songs with 20-minute jams, So I think they made a good choice. I think I don't have any problem with the DVD or the recording at all. I think they stuck to the commercial side of the songs for a good reason. What about you? Do you have an opinion on that, or would you have loved to have seen some 20-minute jams?
I kind of liked what they did. I think that they matured a bit and they took their best elements and just put it into a shorter, segment. And maybe they were less fiery than they were in the 60s. They were definitely on fewer drugs. Clapton was not doing anything. Clapton wasn't drinking. He wasn't doing any harder drugs as well. And to my knowledge, Jack and Ginger were sober at that time as well. So they were different people at this time. They were in a different headspace. they were playing less aggressively for sure, but I definitely liked the shorter jams because it kept more focus to the songs rather than going off on a tangent and you forgetting what song you were listening to. Sometimes that's good, and when I want that, I'll listen to them in the '60s or listen to jazz artists because that's something that jazz does.
Correct.
Jazz introduces a theme, and then you have your improv section, and then you return to the theme, or maybe there's a variation on the theme. So if I want that, then I can listen to Cream in the '60s, or I'll listen to some jazz artists. But I did like that they condensed it for these shows because it brought some focus to the songs, more focus. And yeah, I think I preferred that.
I agree. I agree. I agree. If you want to go and watch the jams or see or listen to the long jams, as Michael said, go and listen to the stuff that they did in the '60s and appreciate the long jams because that's what they were doing in the late '60s. So you know, you're going to get the mojo for it from those recordings.
Yeah, yeah. And at that point in the '60s, they were competing with each other. At the Cream reunion, they were. So I think what makes Cream Cream is that originally they were competing with each other. They were all doing their own thing, and it just worked amazingly together. It formed this greater being, this greater thing. Sum is greater than individual parts. And that's what made them so great back then. In 2005, they were still competing with each other, but they were more unified seeming in my eyes. And that may just be their maturity. And they were better, maybe, listeners at that point, 37 years of playing music with other people, but they were still doing their fusion things that they were doing back in the '60s. And you can hear that on songs like NSU, where they're doing an extended jam and they're experimenting and taking the song for a ride, taking the listener for a ride. So they were still experimenting, but it was just a little bit less than the '60s.
Good point.
So let's see, what else can we say about Cream reunion? So they rehearsed for a month, and at the beginning of rehearsals, they had a little argument, but eventually they all kind of just relaxed and they realized that they were fortunate to be together and doing what they're doing. And they put their differences aside and they said, we need to focus on this and let's just put our differences aside and do this music. And from then on, it was pretty much smooth sailing for the London shows. And
Yes.
They actually had a set list that was a fixed set list. So the same tracks in the same order for all shows. And back in the '60s, they didn't do that. They were much more free-spirited and they would just call out songs the way that a jazz band would. Because that's how they were back then. They matured for these shows in 2005. And I think that was good that they had this fixed order and they kept to it every night. So they knew what to expect, and they probably arranged the songs from emotional impact and excitement level, and obviously they put Sunshine at the end as you would expect them to do.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
anyone who saw the shows was knowing what to expect, I guess.
Yeah. And the opening song, where it's just fantastic. It's great.
Yeah,
great.
That performance of "I'm So Glad" is very strong, and that's from the final night, I think.
Yeah. I just want to add a little bit about the gear conversation. So I've picked up two things in my research over the years. Okay, I'm just going to read a quote from just a sentence from Jack Bruce's biography. So Harry, I can't pronounce Shafaro, asks this question: was he tempted to play the EB3 for the 2005 show? And Jack replies, Eric and I did try using the gear we had in the 60s, he says. I think Eric had a Les Paul and we both had Marshalls, but it sounded terrible. So we had some fun and went back to our modern gear. And I just want to back that up with another quote too that I couldn't find, but I do remember. They couldn't play the gear that they had because they weren't familiar with it, Michael. You know, Jack Bruce hadn't been playing his Gibson bass for years. So there's absolutely no way that he could have made it sound good in the first place because he'd been playing his Warwick bass for how many years? Since the 80s. And the same thing with Clapton too. Clapton hadn't been playing a Les Paul for years, and to do a 2-hour gig with a Les Paul just would have made it unplayable.
Yeah, it would have been cool to see the 335. That would have been nice.
Just got to do a quick shout out. Our brother Missing in Action is just in the chat.
Oh, hey. Can he join us or?
If you can you join us, bro? Are you still at work? Special shout out to Brad
Cook.
Yeah. Everyone knows why you're not here, Brad. We all know that you got a paid gig. You've ditched us. No, he's got work commitments, guys. So yeah, we'll see Brad next week. But we're doing a show tomorrow as well. So cool. Everyone's saying hi to Brad. So yeah, that's what I have come across, Michael, with the gear. There's absolutely no way that they could have played it because they weren't familiar with that gear. But I do agree with you. Clapton had been playing his Cherry Red for a long time, hadn't he?
Yeah, he was playing it up until I guess 1996 at the Hyde Park shows when he's playing "I'm Tore Down" and "Have You Ever Loved a Woman." Those performances, incredible.
Yeah,
absolutely incredible.
And he's looking cool. So, you know, Michael and I always like to talk about how Eric is, you know. So he's wearing his blue jeans, he's wearing a black t-shirt, but before that he's wearing a black leather jacket and he's looking cool and he's got his little stubble going on. Oh! See, we know what he's wearing, guys. Michael said it first.
Well, I mean, for the Cream reunion gigs, he's wearing these double pocket shirts. So. I was wearing a gray one before this taping, and I was like, I'll wear the blue one.
Good on you.
Because he wasn't wearing gray at those shows. So.
Oh, Brad's going to jump in 5 minutes. He's going to jump in and offer a chat with us. Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
Cool.
So,
sorry for interrupting you.
No problem. So Clapton's guitar tech, Lee Dixon, well, his former guitar tech, Lee Dixon, had said that he put up Marshall stacks and brought out some Gibsons for Eric to play at the rehearsals. But Eric said, what is this? Get me my Strat and my Twin. So his Fender 57 Twins. And according to where'seric.com, Clapton was using his 57 Twins, but I'm not sure. Maybe it is his 57 Twins, but maybe they're the modified ones. I'm not positive.
Oh, well, hold on. I don't know either.
Because the sound at that gig is so good. I love his sound at that gig. I don't think it's right for Cream, obviously, but it is still a great Eric Clapton sound.
Hold on. I'll just get those. There is some mid-punch going on that DVD that's just, yeah, I look, I love it. I just can't get enough of that tone.
Yeah, I think it's one of his best recorded tones that's out there, especially on DVD. If you think of Clapton DVDs, the live in Hyde Park '96 DVD is great, where he's using his modified Fender Twins. I think the John Suhr 57 Twins.
Yep.
Those are the best twin amps that he's ever had, and he claims that too. But he sold them. He sold it for his Crossroads charity, so I get that. But if he loves that tone, why did you sell it? Right. So he's got 2 spares. Yeah. We don't know if these are the 57 Twins or if they're modified twins. According to the Where's Eric website, it's the custom 57 Twins, and I'm sure they were modified by the Fender Custom Shop.
Guaranteed. I'm almost sure. And this is a still from one of the gigs that Michael mentioned earlier. That's on the Slowhand archives. This is something that I cropped this morning. So this is why you need to watch those DVD or those videos that Michael mentioned. Yes, the sound quality isn't 100%, but jeepers, you've got a bird's eye view of one of the greatest rock blues bands in the world.
Also important to note is listen to that versus the CD DVD version. Listen to what was changed and what was enhanced. And there's not a lot of post-production that's happening. They kept it very true to what the audience was hearing. And I actually met the sound engineer, the mix engineer for Cream Reunion 2005. And he was doing an event at MixCon, which is a sound engineer, audio engineer event that they do all over the place. And they were doing one at the Manhattan Center in New York. And the Manhattan Center might be familiar to you because that's where Clapton did his rehearsals for Nothing But the Blues.
Yes.
For the From the Cradle tour. Yeah, he's got the 2 amps on the amp rack. Yeah.
So here's some information that I managed to get. So the stand that we've just shown was custom designed, specially constructed for Clapton for the purpose of placing 2 Fender Twins in vertical configuration on stage. The amp stand was used in the reunion tour in Madison Square Gardens, where Michael was lucky enough and fortunate enough to be a participant of. My gosh. The stand allows the fins to be able to one on top of it, presumably used as a compromise for not having Marshall stacks, which symbolizes Cream's performance in the 1960s. I'm going to get rid of this because we're going to be gate crashed. We're being gate crashed.
You're referencing Clapton with JJ Cale.
Oh no, I'm representing Andrew with Brad Cook. But you're right.
How are you, Brad?
Hey guys, how are we?
Great.
Good to see you, brother.
Great to see you both. I had a listen in the car on the way home to what you were talking about, so I'm looking forward to sitting back and watching the rest of the show later on.
Yeah. Please do. We'll just keep you up with the play. So, because we can't do the 5150 show next week, Kurt's away. So I suggested maybe we do the rankings for the Cream show next week. So once we have all confirmed that, we'll do a notification and get that out. But Michael's certainly indicated he's available. So I am. So if you are, so we might as well get cracking and do the rankings next week. Do you just no problem. Before Michael continues with his discussion, do you just want to give us a bit of your personal background on the Cream 2005 tour, on what you heard leading up to it, your impressions, tell us what you think.
Obviously, my first viewing of it, it was goosebump material for me. It was one of those moments where I sat back and something that I wanted to see for years and years, as were all Clapton nuts. You know, I'm a massive Cream fan, so to actually sit back and watch the 3 original guys in current point at that particular time performing, it was goosebumpy material. And I'll be honest with you, there was times I was watching that DVD where I was getting emotional. That's yeah, it was that sort of overwhelming at times, just going, this is something I wish I was part of, but at least I got to live in this day and age when this actually happened. Like, they put aside all their differences, they got back together, they created that magic again. But how many years was it? Like, are we talking? You guys probably discussed this, but yeah,
25.
35 years later, and they recapture that magic again. So it's a chemistry thing, that was there between the three members, and I've discussed this in other shows. Chemistry in bands, like, it doesn't just happen. It takes, you can't create a chemistry. You can't just snap your fingers and we're all got chemistry. It's either going to happen or it doesn't. And they were just very fortunate. The three of them got to actually do it again before, some of them expired. Unfortunately, they passed on and things like that. So, and I heard what you're talking about with the gear and things like that. So, yeah, it was great to see them playing with relevant gear to their time, like what they were using at that particular time. I found that really inspiring, that even though they tried the old gear and it didn't work for them, so they just continued on with like the gear they were using, and that's their signature sound now, but it still worked. It's still Cream. So I don't want to sort of touch on too much on what you guys have probably already discussed, but
No, I think something's just dawned on me when you were giving your presentation that I want to ask Michael and everyone else in the chat, and I never thought about it. So how we've heard Cream from the 60s, which was never part of my generation, because even though I may have been around, I certainly wasn't conscious of that music until later on. But the good thing about this Cream reunion in 2005 is Cream became relevant to another generation.
Yes.
And Michael is living proof of it.
Right.
Yes.
Right. I was just becoming a fan in 2005, like I said. And I didn't know what Jack Bruce or Ginger Baker was like in 2005 from the DVD. So thanks to the DVD.
Mm. Yeah. So you're a young'un, aren't you?
Yeah. I was 14 in 2005. Yeah. And it's funny, my buddy and I, we both went to the concert, and the next day we both came to class. We were both in the same high school. We were both wearing our Cream shirts that we bought the night before.
Mm.
That was pretty funny.
That's awesome.
Now that shirt does not fit me at all. So if anyone wants that shirt, we're raffling it off. No. Well, now I said it, so I have to raffle it off. So I guess we'll raffle it off.
I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I thought I'd better get in theme real quick. So have you noticed my name?
Brad Clapton, yeah.
Brad Clapton.
Well, BT are my initials, so I thought, why not?
People are going to be looking you up.
That's right. Who's this cat? I'm an offspring.
Yeah. I think the that 2005 tour is phenomenal. We discussed a little bit earlier, bro, about how we thought that it was important from Clapton's point of view to reform the band, to build any bridges that may or may not have. Certainly there were some difficult times that trio had. And there was talk about them forming a little bit earlier. Apparently Roger Forrester, Clapton's manager, stopped any kind of discussion because he didn't want Clapton to be under the control of anybody else. Apparently, he wanted to make sure that Clapton was under his tutelage or his direction. There's an argument, good and bad, about that, because he made sure that Clapton was going to be at least on the road of keep on the road of sobriety. That was an important part of of their relationship too, even though Roger was a enabler when they were drinking, when he was drinking. So what do you think also, guys, about Michael's comment about how they hoped that they could have done a record out of this gig?
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Oh, I think all Cream fans would have liked to have seen more. I would have loved to have seen some more original material. Some new songs together. That would have been great, even if it was about 5 songs or something. Just how a lot of bands do like Van Halen, for example, did a best of, and they added 3 new or 4 new songs, whatever it was. I can't think off the top of my head what it was. When bands do that, that just gives you like this sense of urgency to go buy the record because you just want to hear those songs. And for fans like myself, like I'm still an avid collector. I buy CDs of performers I like or albums. I'm starting to buy LPs and things like that because, as much as it's great to have the access to this stuff electronically, I want to hold the physical product in my hand, read the liner notes. I want to look at the pictures. I want to see who Clapton's thanking. I want to see who, Jack Bruce, Ginger Baker, who they'd be thanking. I like that stuff. It makes it more like an experience than it does just listening to. But how cool would it have been to have heard 5 new songs from the guys?
Yeah.
Oh.
In like with today's production, today's equipment that they were using at the time, and just relevant to the age they were performing in, it still would have sounded like Cream, but would have been polished. It would have been amazing.
Yep,
it's an important point that you bring up. The sound of Cream in the '60s versus Cream in 2005. There were so many advances in audio recording and mixing. That Cream actually finally had a full sound in 2005, and you could hear the full depth of a drum set.
Yes.
Rather than
cardboard boxes.
Hear a drum set in your right ear only, and it just sound like cardboard boxes. But that's what was available back then, and we have to just take that because that's what was available.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we're all grateful to have what's there in the past from the 60s, but I was really excited when I got to listen to those songs done with their modern equipment through a decent sound system, mixed like amazingly. There would have probably been some diehard fans that might have been against that, but I think the reality is, it's the sign of the times. We've come forward. Everything's advanced so much, and why not embrace that as a band? And after 35 years of not being together, of course, it's not going to sound like 1967, is it?
Right.
So
right.
And but the gist of the DVD itself, I even love the documentary. And I don't know, you guys have obviously discussed this, but I love the little, how they went about it and the discussions with the band members and stuff like that. It was really good. I'd love to see more of that too. I'm sure there's more of that footage.
Yeah, there's probably outtakes. Yeah.
But
so
again, sorry guys, I didn't want to cut you guys off because you were in the midst of doing something. So I've just popped.
Cool.
So I'm happy for you guys to get back on track, and I can just sort of be an innocent bystander and throw my 2 cents worth in.
So regarding the audio from Cream 2005, I met the mixer, and the mixer's name is Mick Guzowski, and he's mixed Barbra Streisand and Daft Punk. The Daft Punk Random Access Memories album was mixed by him. So this guy is a legendary mixer, Mick Guzowski from New York. And I asked him, what did the members of Cream think about the mix? Because they never heard their music this way before with this.
Oh,
dip.
Wow.
So I got to meet Mick Guzowski at MixCon in New York a couple of years ago. And
wow.
He was going through a mix that he did for an artist. So it's amazing that these MixCon events bestow this information to these young and upcoming mixers like myself. So anyway, I was a fan of his, and the reason I attended was because of him, because he mixed Clapton live in Hyde Park 96. He mixed One More Car, One More Rider. So he's a huge person for
Wow.
Clapton things. So I'm going to need to reach out to him. He did One More Car, One More Rider, Clapton live in Hyde Park 96. Those are the two I can think of, but he's done so much. Oh, he did sessions for Robert Johnson.
Get him on the show.
I would love to. I would love to. So obviously Clapton trusts this guy with, his recordings. He knows how to present Clapton the way Clapton wants to hear Clapton. So I asked him what Cream thought about these mixes compared to the 60s. And he said that Ginger Baker said that the drum cymbals weren't loud enough or bright enough. And if you listen to it, I mean, my personal preference is I think that the drum sound on that record is incredible. I think that Ginger Baker's drums sound great. It's a great example of a drum recording. And his cymbals in particular sound fantastic. If you listen to his ride cymbal on a song like Sleepy Time or Stormy Monday, it's fantastic. So listen to the audio recording and listen to how Mick Guzowski pans the drums, which is a very standard thing. If Ginger Baker is doing a drum fill across the kit, you hear the drums pan. Back in the 60s, you weren't really hearing that.
No.
But that's just a sign of the times. Panning the drum sound or panning instruments definitely became more popular in the 70s and 80s and so on. That was more of a production thing, production and mixing. So yeah, the production of this live performance is fantastic. And I think that Mick Guzowski tried to simulate an audience member listening to Cream in the 10th row. So that's how he tried to present this mix. I read that somewhere. So very cool. And I love the sound of this record because you hear the vocals perfectly. Jack Bruce's bass is more present than ever and not just like a distorted bass tone, which was part of his main sound back then.
Yes.
Eric's guitar sound was great, but it was not his 60s sound. It was Eric's current sound.
Yes.
And it was still recorded fantastically. And you hear the room sound. And there's even some delays. There's definitely delay added. You could hear that in the vocals if you're listening through headphones or speakers. So Mick Guzowski did an awesome job, in my opinion. What do you guys think about the sound?
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. I loved it. I crank it through my sound system at home. I'm very old school in my lounge room. I've got like my TV, my DVD player and everything like that. And I've got old speakers set up like from 20 years ago that sounds phenomenal. And I still listen to my DVDs and Blu-rays in that format just because I know that, in this day and age, people use smaller speaker, Bluetooth stuff and all that, but not for me. And with these sort of things, I want to hear it with big speakers. I want to hear the whole depth of the sound, in the format that it's recorded, like 5.1 or whatever it is as well. So I'm listening to it in that format, but I reckon the sound's amazing on that. I listen to it. Sometimes I just put the DVD on while I'm doing domestic stuff around the house and I just listen to it like a CD. With the visual in the background going.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think one of the great things about this recording is the bass playing. The bass playing is phenomenal. And Michael's hit the nail on the head. Some of the earlier Cream recordings, you can hear the distortion, because they're playing through amps, Marshalls cranked up. But what I like about these recordings is that when you are listening to the vocalists, what Jack Bruce is doing is he's playing those notes in the key with the lyrics, which is great, because we're hearing something that we never heard before. And he's a master bass player, and we knew that he was, he back in the day. But this recording especially gives you an appreciation. And in his biography, he talks about how he loved his tone in the later part of his life. He loved it. He was playing
Hartke.
He was playing through that Warwick bass and the heart system. That how do you pronounce it, Michael?
Hartke. Hartke.
Yeah. So he was playing reminiscent of when he was an upright bass player. So this is why he liked his tone later, that he was replicating the acoustic bass playing. So yeah. Look, I have to agree with you guys. I think this DVD and the recording has given us something very special. Never thought though, and isn't it great about doing these shows? So thank you both. Never thought about how Cream themselves would sit back and enjoy this recording. You know, they would have loved it, except for Ginger Baker, the mean Mr. Ginger Baker. He's always got something negative to say, hasn't he? Oh,
just a thorn in the side all the time.
We should mention that Jack Bruce was playing a fretless bass for like a majority, or was he playing it for the whole thing? Fretless?
I'm sure the whole lot was all fretless. He was because that's his signature bass, is a fretless bass, Michael. So I you know, if you want to correct us in the chat, but I'm 99% sure it was a fretless bass he's playing.
Incredible.
Yeah, unreal.
And we should talk about the other updates besides the sound and the equipment. Let's talk about Eric's voice for a second. Eric's voice from 1968 to 2005 made a giant leap, and he got that smoky tone that we now know and love, and he grew into this singer. He had been singing for 37 years since then. I mean, he wasn't comfortable with his voice in the mid to late 60s. I think in the early 70s is when he started becoming comfortable. When he was with Delaney and Bonnie and Derek and the Dominoes, that's when he started becoming a lead singer. But then something happened where he was smoking and drinking, and his voice changed, and it got this fullness to it, almost like Frank Sinatra at some point, if I may compare their husky tone or raspy tone that Eric developed over the years. And I think it suited their blues sound. And I think that he finally got to sing with his voice, the way that he always wanted to sing. I'm not sure he's still currently happy with his voice, but I'm sure he likes it better now than he did then.
I have a theory, guys, and this is something that I've always thought about. I'll run it by you guys and see what you think. Clapton, he's like a bit of a dark horse. He's not big on socials. He's not big on doing a lot of like promoting what he does or in his personal life and things like that. He tries to keep everything fairly in the background, in the dark. Do you think he worked quite solidly and hard on his vocals there for a long time? I personally think he spent a lot of time with coaches or whatever developing his voice, because you can really hear it. Like in the 90s, his voice was something different than we'd ever heard Clapton sing. Back in the 70s, he was getting better. He's just progressively got better. But in the 90s, for me, Clapton's voice just turned into this amazing blues singer that not many people can sing like him. Myself included, I aspire to be able to sing that strong and everything that Clapton can do. But it's like, I firmly believe he's put a lot of time and energy into his voice, not just his guitar playing. What do you guys think?
Andrew?
Oh, look, I agree with you. I think he has had a concerted and determined effort to certainly look after his voice. He realized that he was going to be on the road for a long, long time, realized that his whole essence was about touring, so he was going to be doing a lot of gigs. And he was fortunate enough to have a lot of background or backing singers who were very, very good singers. So
True.
you know that they would have been talking about techniques and how to sing. Remember when we all first discovered how to sing? We were singing through our throats, and then all of a sudden we started singing down here from our bellies, and our voice changed, and it became much easier to sing from your belly. I'm not saying that he didn't go through that process, but I'm sure he went through a process of communication with his other singers, with his other bandmates. It was a necessity that he needed to look after his voice, and singing properly, I suppose, is part and parcel of looking after your voice. Michael?
Yeah, I think that being the lead singer in your own band definitely helps, and touring as extensively as he did definitely helped his voice. And I would definitely say that his Nothing But the Blues tours of the mid-90s definitely got him in shape to sing these bluesier numbers. And he always wanted to sing blues songs. So he eventually got to do that with the Nothing But the Blues show. Hey, Michael, also that cool man. I'm from '87. It's a funny comment, Nelson. But yeah, Eric definitely spent a lot of time on his voice, and it shows. And you definitely hear a renewed strength in his voice in the 80s, on those 80s albums, and in those 80s and 90s performances like 24 Nights and the blues tours. That's for sure.
The reason I brought that up is because I'm trying to develop my own voice, and I'm learning things as I'm going. And I realize when I watch him perform, he's got a lot of vocal mic technique down pat, and his performance, his singing etiquette. He knows when to give and when to hold back. He's very trained. It's like he's trained, but whether that's just natural for him or not. But I can see through the years, even like recent performances I've watched of him just before, like, even these 1970th birthday performance at Royal Albert Hall, he's singing in that is phenomenal. But to me, it is because he's giving a full bodied voice, not holding back. His vocal technique's professional. He's laying off where he needs to. He's giving it all where he has to, and he's economy singing as well. Like you learn that you can't just there are techniques that you don't just all of a sudden just start doing. They're things you learn through vocal coaching, and that's why I'm saying I reckon he's had a lot of work. Like he spent a lot of time on that because it's so important to him.
Do you think one of the reasons, guys, why he has such a good voice and he's been able to retain that voice for a long time? Let's just look at Mick Jagger as an example. Mick Jagger hasn't sung for a long, long time. Mick Jagger raps now. He doesn't sing, he raps. And one of the reasons why, he raps is because he's moving around all the time. He's constantly on running around and shaking that skinny little body that he's got, so, and Clapton's not doing that. Clapton is a guitar player. He's standing there and he can deliver, and he's not having to compensate with what his body is doing physically by having to raise his voice unnaturally, so yeah. What do you guys think?
Yeah, the performance side of it, he's more focused as a front person with a guitar singing, so that's his thing. It's not like Mick Jagger's a performer as such. But I don't know. I've never really heard about Clapton working on his vocals the way I've just discussed it. That's all. And I thought, have you guys heard anything like that he's spent a lot of time working on his voice? Because we talk a lot about his guitar playing, and I'm glad you brought his voice up, Michael, because that's one of the reasons why I love Clapton so much.
Yeah.
His voice is phenomenal. When he sings blues, he's singing like a bluesman. He's not singing like a, I'm not going to say what I'm thinking in my head, but yeah.
Right. Well, that's from him studying it all of
Yeah.
his life. He's been listening to it for not 75 years, but he's
Yeah.
been listening to it for as long as he's been listening to radio.
Yeah.
Or watching TV. He's
Yeah.
always been wanting to sound like that.
Hmm.
Johnny,
He's one.
go ahead.
Sorry.
I was going to say, Johnny Heartbreaker, what's Michael's favorite guitar that he owns? It's my new blue Fender Classic Series 50s Strat that I got 2 years ago. It's an amazing, amazing playing guitar, and I customized it with 3 pickups that aren't stock. And it's not down here, but I'll bring it on next time.
Cool.
Thanks, Johnny. What were you saying, Brad?
That's okay. I've lost my train of thought because I was more interested in your guitar that you're talking about.
we were talking about Clapton's vocal and how he studied all those blues vocalists and how he always wanted to be like them.
Yeah. I think it's just always fascinated me with his voice, how it just seems to get stronger and stronger every year. He just seems to be one of those guys that keeps getting better, and there's not a lot of people of his vintage, should I put it nicely, of his vintage that can keep impressing vocally.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's what I'm saying. Like you go listen to him sing, Purple Rain, for example, by Prince, and you see his vocal techniques in that are so strong. He knows where his strengths are, where his weaknesses are. He utilizes his voice properly.
All right, Johnny Heartbreaker says go get it. And because we've got another guest here, I'm going to go get it.
Okay,
so
good on you. See the sacrifices the hosts do for you guys in the chat?
Yeah. And thanks for letting me jump in last minute, Andrew.
No problem, bro. So what you're going to do next week before we do the rankings is you're going to talk about your discovery on how you got the 24 Nights tone and give us your, because Michael and I have spoken about it. So before we go and do the rankings, you might, you should spend the time because I know that is important to you because we've discussed this offline. So
well, it's the reason I bought a pewter grey EC Strat. That's the whole thing. There we go.
Yeah. So give us the rundown. What have you got in there again, Michael?
In the bridge, I have a Hot Stack for Strat Seymour Duncan pickup. In the middle, I have a Fender Custom Shop Fat 50s.
Woo!
And then, this is killer. This sounds just like Clapton's middle pickup as well.
Wow.
And I mean, I could have just bought a vintage noiseless if I wanted to sound like Clapton, but I wanted to customize this. And then in the neck is a Seymour Duncan SSL1, which has a great neck pickup sound. And now I will hold this guitar for the rest of this chat. Eye candy, right? And look, it goes with the shirt.
Hold on.
I have a
screenshot. Thumbnail. There's the thumbnail for tonight's show, ladies and gentlemen, at the 2:33 mark.
I had to hold that. That was so funny. I have a follower named Rick Blues Fuse. I know that Blues Fuse is not his last name. But anyway, he says that if you're playing guitar, you have to match your shirt or your outfit has to match with the guitar that you're playing. So I was going to play this guitar tonight if we were demonstrating things, but I think we're saving that for next week.
Yeah. Sleek. And Arvin's saying nice. So that's a nice guitar. So you've got a here in New Zealand, we use this word mongrel when something is not consistent. So you've got mongrel pickups in there. You've got 3 different types of pickups. That's interesting.
Yeah. the stock pickups were good, and I actually did a video on YouTube where I compared the stock pickups to these. So I do a side-by-side comparison, pretty much of me playing the same clip with pickup A and then pickup B. So you could choose for yourself what you like, but it's my guitar.
Okay, I want you to send me that link too when you get some time, and I'll attach that to the description here, guys, too, if you want to check that video out.
Yeah, and this pickup in the bridge is actually a humbucker, so no hum.
Oh, wow.
But at the sacrifice of now I don't have the second position on the Strat, doesn't sound like, it doesn't have the quack. Right, I just saw Brad say it. He mouthed quack. So it doesn't have the quack that a Strat would have.
Okay.
So I'm kind of missing that, where maybe
Okay.
a TDX would help. Treble bass expander.
I used to have a I haven't got the Strat here, but I used to have a JB Junior humbucker in my bridge of my white Strat for many years, and the whole reason I went back to a single coil in that position is because that number 2 position is a unique tone that you can't get any other way. And the way I figured it was, okay, if I'm doing a gig and I need a Strat tone, I pick up the Strat. If I need a Les Paul tone, I put this Les Paul on. That was just my way of thinking at the time. And when I went back to the single coil, you know, at times when I think, oh, it'd be nice to have a Strat to do both. Yeah, it's sort of like maybe I can put a humbucker in it, maybe, and then I go, no. Think of that one time you said I missed that number 2 position. So yeah, I can relate to that, Michael, because the number 2 is that tone that you can't get out of any other position or any other guitar.
Right. So when you're going to a gig, you have to choose your guitars wisely and know the songs that you're playing. And if the song that you're playing requires a sound from that second position on a Strat, then this guitar is probably not the right guitar for me to take. However, you can maybe change some settings on your amp or use an EQ pedal to maybe boost some treble, boost some brightness to kind of make up for where this humbucker lacks. And I've done that, and it sounded okay.
We've just lost Andrew. He's back in 2 minutes, he said. But I've still got that humbucker pickup. I took it out of the guitar and I put a single coil back in there, a Fender Custom Shop one, just because I wanted consistency of a Strat tone just out of that guitar. I just didn't want to. But I have got on my Les Paul, I've got push-pull pots to go single coil or humbucking.
Right.
And I very rarely on the Strat these days use the trem bar anyway. So it's kind of like I've got the best of both worlds in a Les Paul, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not 100%, but it's close. It does the job on stage. I've done like Bowie shows where I've had to play Stevie Ray Vaughan stuff on a Les Paul because the songs just segue into each other and I haven't got time to change guitars. Right. So my guitar of choice, majority of the songs were Mick Ronson, you know, Spiders of Mars sort of thing. So I needed that Les Paul tone. But going back to, you know, a Strat tone, it would be just like, okay, pull the neck pickup pot out and I've got the Stevie Ray Vaughan neck tone close enough, get me through.
Could you or have you used your Clapton Strat with the mid boost engaged? Does that sound like a humbucker to you or no?
At the time, I didn't want to tool with that guitar. I didn't want to take it on the road, like interstate in the plains and stuff like that. But the other thing is too, I had limited, like, because travel's so expensive these days with equipment. I could only take 2 guitars, one backup and one main guitar. So the main guitar would be the one I play from A to B, and the backup was just in a guitar rack in case I broke a string. So, but I could have probably taken the Clapton one. But still, to this day, playing Mick Ronson stuff from Bowie, for example, you need a Les Paul. The Strat still cuts it, but the majority of the material was more Les Paul orientated, so I had to stick with the Les Paul just for that reason. But just because it leaned that way. But I guess what I'm getting at is the Clapton Strat would definitely cut it because I can pull a mean Les Paul tone out of it if I want to.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I'm sure you guys can vouch for that because you've got, well, you had a Clapton Strat, Michael.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And Andrew's got the earlier model of mine. So, I'm sure he can pull the Les Paul tone. I still reckon, it's really just depends, like you said, Michael, on the gig you're doing and what guitar tone you need the majority of.
Right.
That would be your guitar of choice. So for that gig, it was predominantly Les Paul tone. So I just chose the Les Paul. Plus, I'm a Les Paul guy more than a Strat guy, if that makes sense. So, but I'm still a Strat guy.
Yeah. I like the weight of a Strat. I like the look of a Strat.
Yep. You got to have one of each. You got, look. Seriously, in all seriousness, you got to have a Strat and you got to have a Les Paul. If you're into classic rock, you got to have one of each, and then you're okay. Then you're fine.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Personally, like if I was to do a blues gig or a rock gig, where I had time to change guitars a lot and things like that, I'd have a Strat and a Les Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Guitars of choice for a gig, and then anything else on top of that would just be because I've got a guitar tech that can hand me guitars and tune them and all that sort of stuff, and that's completely different kettle of fish. If that's the case, I'll take the Music Man, I'll take this, I'll take that. Yeah, I'll have that one for that song, this one for that song, but we don't have that luxury at our level.
It's look, I don't want to be critical of the bands that do that, but isn't that interesting? You watch the Cream reunion, or you watch Clapton, and with Winwood or whatever, and they're doing, they might get a couple of different guitars because of the tunings, certainly maybe, but Clapton plays that Cream gig basically with one guitar, and you go and watch some of these bands. For every song they play, there's a technician handing them a guitar. Come on, guys, come on, make that guitar work for you.
Well, the way I see it, Andrew, is if you're paying someone to be there, make them damn well work for it.
Oh, okay.
And you know what? Who doesn't want to live like a rock star? Hey, I want that guitar for that one. I want that one for that one. Yeah, hand me the pewter grey Strat. Yeah, I want that one.
The only problem is when you start picking guitars, you start picking other things.
Yeah, I'm being silly, guys. Yeah, but Clapton, he's got his tone and he doesn't need to really change guitars because that's his thing, So
yeah, So he used a Clapton Strat with lace sensors for Rollin' and Tumblin', and that's the song that they do with Slide.
Yep.
And that's where Jack's on harmonica, and there's no bass. So that's also a very interesting song performance, because the bass is taken up by Ginger Baker's kick drum, and maybe Mick Guzowski, the mixer, made the kick drum a little bit louder to make up for the lack of bass. Yeah. Very interesting mix and very interesting performance.
And that's the best version of that song.
Oh yeah?
In my opinion.
I don't think I know the original. I don't think I know their original.
Hey, Fruitcake Tony.
I get
Robot Master Switch. We got a few cats in the chat joining us, guys.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I personally, I might get shot down for this, but I kind of like that the newer versions of the songs. I love the 60s versions. I love them. I'm not knocking them, but I just love the production. I love the sound. I love the way they perform on that. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
No, you're not going to get shot down. I rate that DVD and the CD specifically because of the production values. I just love Clapton's throaty tone that he's that mid, and I've had discussions and debates with a lot of guys over the years who can't stand that guitar tone, don't like it. You either like it or you love it. And it's one of the pinnacle tones for me.
You can't argue with those people though, Andrew.
No, I don't. No, I've stopped arguing with those kind of people.
That's my point. There's no point arguing with them. So,
So I'm just going to change topic for a little while, guys. We've got Robot Master Switch. He won the T-shirt that we had, Michael, for the channel a week ago, and he's it's just been delivered, so he's wearing it now. So that's the recipient of the first ever competition for our channel. So way to go, Robot Master Switch. Thank you, brother.
A robot one.
Yeah, well done, man. Well done.
Yeah.
Which one did he pick, Andrew? Tell me.
Yeah. Well, you guys talk, and I'll get it up for you guys.
Yeah, because I want to have a look at which one he got, because Robot Master Switch, that could have been my T-shirt.
Right, and I have to give away mine because I said it. My cream 2005 T-shirt. I think it's too big for me now.
Yeah, too big.
Unless I let myself go, which maybe.
Well, don't give it up. Just say you gave it up and don't give it up.
Right.
Say you did it. You know, actually, give it away to yourself.
Right.
Give it away to yourself. So yeah, with that guitar that you've got there. Oh, here we go. Oh yeah, that's a cool one. Yeah, that's very cool. It's like a retro one, isn't it? That's like the retro range. Yeah, that's very cool. Yes. Yeah. Sorry, Brad. Yeah. See, I tried to claim it as Robot Master Switch, but Andrew wouldn't let me. Yeah.
Did you guys see pictures of Clapton's amps at the reunion shows? I think Lee Dixon or someone put a mini Marshall, one that you could clip onto your belt, like a School of Rock mini Marshall, on top of his Fender Twins. And I think they did the same for Jack Bruce's amps as a nod to their Marshall stacks of the 60s.
The very novelty. It was very cool.
I wish that they got them playing through them. That would have been hysterical.
Yeah.
They should
the mini Marshalls,
like just something of them like blowing it up or smashing it. I don't know. And they're expensive, those little things. They're like $50 for like one watt.
Yeah. I got something I'm going to throw out to you guys. How good would it be if there was any rehearsal footage existing of them playing with their old gear and then rehearsal footage of them playing with their new gear, like A-Bing it sort of thing, like showing the difference? Well, how good would that be to watch as fans?
Yeah, modern them with that gear would probably be amazing.
Wow.
It'd be amazing. And I'm sure it exists because someone was recording. I'm sure the sound engineer was getting.
Well, we know Clapton from his past with his Robert Johnson sessions where he recorded everything, and that, like, maybe they did record a lot of this stuff and it's floating around in someone's archive. So whoever's listening to or watching this later, we're expecting to see some box sets with, unreleased rehearsal footage and all sorts of goodies.
Right.
That's what we all want. That's what, as fans, we want. Isn't it funny that we want these things that the artists themselves probably wouldn't want us to see?
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting that Clapton really hasn't given us a lot of that repackaged or, unreleased information with the repackages. He's one artist that doesn't tend to do that. We got that with the Layla album and the 20th anniversary and the 40th anniversary, but it would be nice, actually. Be nice to get some of that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you look at, say, what's happening with the Beatles with, the Get Back sessions and stuff like that. There's footage floating around of that they're putting together, and I'm surely there's footage of Cream rehearsing somewhere in an archive that they could go. This is for the VIP members or something, and you sign up for it and you can buy it.
There's pictures of Eric in 2005 rehearsing, and you could see a Marshall stack behind him, and he's playing his Fender Strat. And it's in black and white, and I think it's at Eric's house, and it's floating around the internet. And I have right here Where's Eric magazine, which I think I'm still a subscriber of, but I haven't seen one in a long time. And they pretty much chronicle Clapton every year whatever he's doing, whatever performances he's playing. And like, for example, here you could see, whoops, you can see sessions for Robert Johnson. So this is all the same year, 2004, 2005-ish. Picture from, whoops, over here. Yeah. You could, whoops. You could see Eric. This is him on the third night at Madison Square Garden. I saw him on the first night where he was wearing a collared shirt. And he had claimed that it was the first time that they ever performed Tales of Brave Ulysses. But there's a lot of live performances of them playing that in the 60s on the live Cream albums. So that was a false statement by Eric. But in 2005, again, I was 14 and I thought, oh my God, I just saw the debut performance of Tales. And on the train ride home, I was so excited, talking to my parents about it. I'm like, we just saw the debut performance of this. And I just remember that. And then researching it online and saying, that's Eric playing it with the Fool guitar with Jack Lewis and Ginger Baker. He's a liar, or he forgot. So,
he forgot.
that's okay. I was excited by it, and he was excited by it. And if Eric's excited by something, that means he's going to play it better for us.
Yep.
And that was a cool performance of Tales of Brave Ulysses.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a couple of good performances of that from New York. The first night and the third night. I haven't seen it from the second night. But the third night, he gives an amazing solo from New York. So if you search Tales of Brave Ulysses MSG, you'll find those performances.
Oh, wow.
And Clapton's using that Dunlop Jimi Hendrix wah pedal that we spoke about a while ago.
So, Brad, Michael saw them. Michael saw them live. If you didn't pick that up in the show earlier,
it's amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
Very lucky to have been able to go.
Yeah. Oh, we're extremely happy for you, but we're extremely jealous. And get off now.
Yeah. Okay. So the first show was not too exciting. So remember, I was studying. I was studying and watching the DVD, the 2005 Cream DVD, like every day until I saw the show at MSG, which was in October of 2005. So I was watching that DVD for like 5 months straight, learning it. And they were so on fire for that set of gigs. And then when they played in New York that first night, they were kind of not too exciting. I would say almost dull. And as the night progressed, they got more into it. But I read somewhere, maybe in Clapton's autobiography or somewhere online, that they only rehearsed for 2 hours the day before the New York shows. And whereas they rehearsed for a month before the London shows at the Royal Albert Hall. So rehearsal makes a difference. And they were kind of riding on the wave or the success of the reunion DVD and maybe thought that they could just wing it. And sometimes you can, but in my experience, I think that the first performance was kind of dull at New York, MSG. Okay. And they progressively got better and more relaxed and more warmed up because they just weren't warmed up. That was it, like they were in England. And in Eric's autobiography, he says he kind of wished that he left the reunion in London because that final show in London, May 6th, 2005, was the pinnacle of the 4 shows where they got 10 tracks or 10 plus tracks that made it to DVD. So they wanted to leave it, or Eric wanted to leave it on a high note. And so when they got to New York, I think that they began to have a couple of issues that Ginger was afraid that they would have with volume.
Yep.
And so I think they actually put a drum shield in front of Ginger's drums because Jack Bruce's amps, his bass amps, got a little bit too loud for Ginger's liking. And that goes back to the issues of the 60s where Ginger was upset with Jack because of Jack's volume, on-stage volume.
Yep.
And he blamed Jack for his hearing damage.
Right. Okay.
So they had a little bit of that. And so I think the shows may not have ended on the best note possible. And that's why I think Eric wanted to leave it in London.
Okay. That makes sense. Disappointing, but I'm still jealous that you got to see a show even like that.
Yeah. And my sister, again, she fell asleep during sleepy time. She fell asleep on some guy's shoulder with my mom sitting next to her. Hysterical. Imagine?
Oh, goodness. That's hysterical.
Yeah. And we should also talk about how they included Stormy Monday as like a new song that wasn't in their repertoire. So that was cool that they added that. What songs do you wish that they played that they didn't play? Because they were gonna try I Feel Free, but I think Jack said it was just too much work. There's a lot of harmonies, that happen in that song. And Brad, you were mentioning how good the Cream DVD interviews are, and I think that's where Jack says that they tried it or they spoke about doing I Feel Free, but it just didn't work.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of parts that would be missing. The piano part played by Felix Pappalardi, and there's a tambourine, but I'm sure that Ginger Baker could have added that to his drum set.
I really wish they did wrapping paper.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
No, I was waiting.
Wrapping paper is the worst piece of.
Yeah.
That's my Ginger Baker impression.
Yeah.
Wrapping paper is the worst. I can't do it.
Hey, Dogpa. And we got another new person in the chat, Red Guitar Nola. Thank you, Red Guitar Nola. Thank you for joining us. And another good friend of the channel, Derek
Clapton.
We kind of think that is Eric Clapton.
Derek is Eric. Clapton is Clapton. Well, hello, if it's actually Eric.
That's his alias.
Eric, may I please borrow one of your master-built guitars? Thank you. And, the Soldano is gone, so I'll get my own. So what songs from Cream would you have liked to hear or have heard?
For me, I haven't really thought about that, to be honest with you. I was just grateful that I got to see them do I didn't really think about that. The songs that, I was expecting them to play, they played, put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have heard Swalabr. SWLABR. I love that song.
Yeah.
Great vocal by Jack.
Yeah.
Great solos.
Yeah. I'll just be honest with, I'm just happy with that they did what they did. I would have liked to have heard, maybe, I can't think off the top of my head now. I'd have to really rack my brain to think, because when I watched it, I was just like, oh, I'm so glad that just everything that they were doing, I was so wrapped with. Because when I bought the DVD, I didn't look at the set list either. I thought I'm just going to watch it like I'm at the gig.
Right.
Yeah.
We should mention a couple of notable audience attendees that went to the London shows. I've seen pictures of Roger Waters in the audience. On the DVD, you can see Brian May smiling during Crossroads.
Yep.
Can you get any better than that? Seal of approval. That's
not really.
Apparently, Paul McCartney was there and Ringo. Wow. I didn't know that, but I read it today.
Oh, wow.
In Where's Eric? But as you said before, I don't know what we can trust, but let me just quickly pull up who else was here. Bill Wyman and Mick Taylor from Rolling Stones, Roger Waters, Jimmy Page, Roger Daltrey of The Who, Sheryl Crow, Steve Winwood.
Was John Mayer there as well? I think John Mayer was there.
Mayer or Mayall?
Mayer. John Mayer. What Bodies of Wonderland?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he was. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Don't believe me. That hasn't come from a source. I thought he was there though. So
yeah, I know Roger has worked with Clapton. Clapton was on the Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking tour in 1983. So
Yep.
they're good friends. And Roger actually was at Crossroads 2013. And there's a video on YouTube of Roger Waters just in the audience enjoying Eric. And some fan just recognized Roger Waters and decided to film Roger Waters watching Eric Clapton, which is a good idea for a video. But it must have been amazing to be in that audience and be in. Oh, and we should mention the venue as well, Royal Albert Hall, because that's where they did say their goodbye to us in 1968.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where they said their second goodbye, their last goodbye, their final goodbye in 2005. So they have a connection to that venue for sure.
Yeah.
I think Clapton sees that as like his, it's his church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He likes to play there.
Good point. And we also have to remember too, guys, that two members of Cream aren't here with us anymore too. So, yeah.
Well, that's one thing I was saying before, how grateful we should be to have lived in a time when they did have a reunion together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've got like good hard evidence, great quality material there of how amazing the performance was. So,
wouldn't it have been disappointing just to have had that farewell concert at Albert Hall in 68 with the camera going all over the place and they're not even concentrating? Oh, God, so they made up for that horrible footage, didn't they?
And there was only limited footage there too. It's not like a whole gig. It's just limited footage and it's not,
Some performances are cut off,
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they use footage of other performances over something like White Room or whatever.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how grateful we should be that we managed to get that. That's that I actually thought about that when Jack Bruce passed away. I thought that, and then when Ginger Baker passed away, I thought that as well. So, geez, we're lucky that we got a Cream reunion before they unfortunately passed on. So, and I think that they mentioned similar sort of things in their interviews on the DVD. They didn't want to. I think it was Clapton. I'd have to have a watch of it, but I think as Clapton says, it was the time they had to do it. Then they felt like they had to do it.
Yeah. Hey, Johnny.
Yeah,
hey, Johnny.
The time was right.
Yeah.
Clapton was feeling healthy and good, and Jack Bruce had recently had a liver transplant. I think Ginger Baker had arthritis or something like that, but he was able to play. And from what I remember, I think maybe in a Cream DVD of sorts, I think that Ginger Baker would show up to rehearsals hours before the other two, rehearsing the whole set and rehearsing his Toad solo. And it just showed his dedication to this music. And I'm sure Ginger loved this music. And Ginger's time throughout the whole thing was incredible. Never missed a beat.
Yep.
And his Toad solo is legendary.
Yeah, that's a good point, Michael. I think, and sorry for cutting you off, but I think that's a fantastic point because when you consider the legacy that Ginger Baker had as a percussionist and a drummer for a generation of people, it was certainly just as important for him to be seen and to be playing on time because, they were going to film it. So, yeah, good point. Good point. It was personally important to him. I think that he got it right.
Oh yeah, they all got it right. There's not a moment on that DVD where you could think otherwise. They're
Yeah.
matured musicians with 37 more years of experience than they had before that, and they created something really great on this DVD. And it's a good lesson to musicians, whether you're a bassist, drummer, guitarist, singer.
Mm-hmm.
Just pay attention to what each of them are doing separately, and then listen to how it all meshes together. It's really, really tight arrangement for live performance. And again, they're improvising a lot. So it's really exciting to watch.
Yeah.
Cool.
And just,
Hey guys,
yeah. Sorry.
it's okay. We've been going for 3 hours, so just mindful of the time over there for you, Michael. So, are we okay for going for a little bit longer? Is there anything else on your agenda that? Okay, that's cool. Cool. I don't want to because I can go for about another 30 minutes, guys.
Yep, that's perfect.
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm sorry I've dragged it out for you guys as well because of my late arrival.
No. We're just happy to have you on board, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was nice to be able to jump in at the tail end, regardless. So thanks. It felt good.
I'm just going to go and grab another drink so you guys start talking about something. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Yeah. So, Michael, with Clapton's rig, like if you compare it to like in the 60s, what he was using in Cream, and then he's obviously using his Fender gear, really like that's his tone. With the wah tones and that, do you think he replicated the similar sort of like throaty wah that he was getting in the 60s? Like that to me, the reason I asked that is because I think listening in comparison, I know everyone raves about the Clyde wahs and everything like that for the 60s and how they had a throaty tone, and there's some of them that are arguably like not replicated because they were amazing pieces of equipment. For me, I'm going to ask you first, and I'll give you my answer. What do you think of his wah tone in comparison to his Cream wah tone?
His wah tone at the 2005 or
sorry, from 2005 to his like late 60s Cream tone.
So, referring to the New York performances with the wah tone there.
Well, okay, so from DVD,
he didn't use it on the DVD, right?
I thought he used it in.
He doesn't use it on White Room on the DVD, but he does use it in a bootleg.
Okay, I must have seen a bootleg because I was watching him do it, and I was like, the wah tone was remarkably good in my opinion. I was like, wow, he's got it.
I think he still uses that Dunlop wah for like a thick wah tone, and it is very epic when you see him live.
Yep.
Nothing like a thick wah-wah sound. But I think I prefer his sound in the 60s, the wah sound in the 60s.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was just, it sounds trippier, or what he played was trippier and more psychedelic.
I think,
and his vibrato was different in the 60s. Yeah. And vibrato with wah is something that he popularized.
Yeah.
Because he was the first person to use a wah-wah pedal on a song, on a popular song on radio. And that was Tales of Brave Ulysses.
Yeah.
And the following day, I think Jimi Hendrix released Voodoo Child. So Eric beat him out by one day. But Eric was using a Vox wah.
Yeah.
I think he was using Vox wah at that time.
He's using Vox, what are they called? Yeah. So I love that Vox wah tone. I love it. But I love his tone in the Cream reunion show that I saw him using a wah. It must have been on YouTube. I think I saw it. And in Sunshine, he was using it. And I was like, that's such a cool tone in contrast.
In Sunshine?
Yeah, I think it was Sunshine. Yeah.
Wow. I got to find that.
Maybe I got it wrong. I'm sure it was Sunshine of Your Love.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
So yeah, you prefer the
White Room.
Atomic.
Sorry, I just stuffed up. It was White Room.
Hmm.
Yeah, White Room. My apologies there.
No problem.
Yeah.
I got to check out him doing that from New York.
Yeah. I love the we talk about vintage gear being amazing, and I love vintage gear tones, but the Dunlop wah tone that he pulls is quite unique within itself, and I love that in its own right. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Very thick and throaty, and there's something about those Dunlop wahs that all these vintage heads, rightfully so, always seek out these amazing Vox wahs from the 60s and the 70s and everything like that, and they're amazing. But if you can go to a local guitar shop and buy a Jim Dunlop wah that sounds that good, I'm there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've got the Jimi Hendrix Dunlop wah. So if you want me to ship it to you, I could do that.
I've got one, but it's I've got to change the pot in it, and I've never done it through the years. I've had my gigging wah. I use the Slash Jim Dunlop one just because it's got the light on it. There's two modes of it. There's just a standard wah, and then it's got like a volume and a fuzz as well.
It has the red indent on the side, or
red. Yeah. It's got a little button, and you press on
the button. Yeah,
I bypass all that. I just use it as a wah, but I like it's. I've kept it for live performancing because the light comes on and off. That's what I've loved about it. But
right,
because I like to know when a pedal's on and off.
Yeah, rather than just guess.
Or you get halfway through a gig and you might go, "Oh, my tone's been terrible all gig," and then you realise you've half depressed the whole time. So
why is my tone so trebly? Why is my tone so dark?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I was just interested to see. And Andrew, what are your thoughts on his wah tone as opposed to the cream, early '60s cream wah tone? What do you think?
Oh, look, I'm good at categorizing the artists that we follow, and I'm happy to leave cream back in the '60s and embrace Clapton's wah work in the '80s and the '90s and the 2000s. I think he got better at it. Certainly got better at it, and if that's because the gear got better and the recording, as Michael has pointed out many times during the course of these streams, we got to put that into context too. I just think he's just got better and better, and I think we'd agree as guitar players and musicians ourselves, that we have this attachment to a period that an artist has. But we can appreciate his development. Let's look at the Van Halen thing for a good example. Brad and I, Michael, appreciate Eddie Van Halen right through his whole period, and we situate the Sammy Hagar areas as a pinnacle, and everything was building up to that point. And to write Eddie Van Halen off at 1984 is, in my opinion, incorrect. Just like a lot of Eric Clapton fans out there who say that Clapton's best work was with Cream, and anything after that's rubbish. Yeah, I don't get it.
No, I don't get that either. Because if that's through the natural development of a musician, you evolve. So, and you evolve with gear, you evolve all the way through. So I appreciate an artist when they might write songs differently, they use different equipment. But getting back to Cream, I love how the fact they incorporated all the modern day equipment they had that they were using and performed. I was really excited by that.
Oh, me too. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't believe it. And, and like all of us, getting that DVD on a Thursday night and taking it home and, getting ready to watch it was wow.
Yeah.
I had about 4 or 5 mates over watching it. It wasn't just myself. Yeah, it was an event.
I used to walk home from high school and I would listen to my iPod and I would listen to the reunion. I would listen to a song like We're Going Wrong in the fall with leaves on the ground. And it was just perfect. And around, the fall, I'll re-listen to that album. I just try and go back to that time. I don't know why I do that, but it just finds me then. And I do it in May, obviously, because that's the anniversary of it. So it happens every single year, and it will continue to happen.
See, and we get it. We know exactly what you're talking about.
You're a nut, and we understand it.
We get it. Absolutely get it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Have we got anyone in the chat? What's everyone's thoughts on what we're discussing? I'm just curious. I haven't been looking at the chat, guys, so I apologize. Who have we got
okay.
here still? Derek, we've got Nelson still, Johnny Heartbreaker. Yeah, and I'm glad to see Michael still holding the guitar.
Yeah.
You said that you were going to hold it for the rest of the show, and you stuck to your word. So well done.
Looks good. Looks better than just shirt.
See, Michael's got the right theme, Andrew. We should have a guitar in our hands as well.
Yeah, it keeps the eyes busy. We have people looking at this guitar the whole time. This is eye candy.
That's right. Well, they don't want to look at three sweet guys.
We need a camera to be like zooming in and out to this guitar. You notice that on a lot of videos of these content creators, that cameras just like zooming in and out of them. There we go.
Can do. Okay, all right. We can
a little lower, a little lower.
There we go.
Okay.
So that's better than
we're taking a family picture now.
Better than looking at three sweaty guys,
Right.
Actually, this would probably be better. There you go.
Hold it there for the rest of the show.
Yeah, that's it. That's your screenshot there, Andrew.
Yeah. Now, do you wish you were holding a Les Paul? No.
That's your thumbnail.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wait. When did you change your name from Brad Clapton to Brad?
I just done it just a minute ago.
Oh. I didn't notice.
I didn't mean to leave it up there for so long, to be honest with you. I forgot that I left it there. I did it as a joke when I first come on.
How much text can we put in there? Like Brad Cook news? Can we put like Brad Cook? Not shake it off. Is that what's the name of Shake It Up, or what's the name of your new single?
Yeah, Shake It. Yeah.
Shake It. Sorry.
Shake it, baby.
Sorry to cross promote, but
cross promote. Let me see. We should be talking about Cream, and we're talking about.
Let's talk about Cream. We went off on a tangent for a sec.
It's all good. It's all good. Mark thinks it's funny. Hey, Mark, it's always good to see you. Johnny Heartbreaker and Nelson. Yeah, it's always good to hang out with you guys. We appreciate it. It's we're always in for a special treat when Michael comes on and special guests with us. So we've got a few little bits and pieces lined up. Yeah, we're gonna probably do this DVD too at some stage. I think this is a remarkable DVD of a 75-year-old guy still killing it.
So earlier we were talking about 24 Nights and how his settings for his Soldano SLO 100 and his Marshall 1960B, those settings were on where'seric.com, and a lot of guitarists try and approximate that with digital amps or modeling software, and a lot of times we can't get the exact sound that Eric has. And it's interesting that on the Slow Hand at 70 DVD that you were just holding up, if you could hold it up again, Eric, at the beginning of Pretending, the video shows Eric's amp.
That's correct.
His Fender Twin. And his Fender Twin is at, I think, it's at like 1 o'clock.
Yep.
treble, bass, whatever. Those controls are at 1 o'clock or something like that. The volume, etc., is at 6. So anyone who's trying to get his tone with a Fender Twinilux or Fender 57 Twin would try and set their tone like that. But even if you do that, you're probably not going to sound like Eric. Again, you've got his sound, his hands, his guitar, the microphones. He has 1 to 2 microphones on his amplifier. I think those are well documented. I think he uses Audix, AUDIX microphones. They've been using them for a long time. And he uses 2 microphones. And I'm not sure if they're still in production, but you can definitely research that. Audix microphones on his amps. And then you've got the sound of the room. You've got the audience microphones. You've got the post-production mix by whoever's mixing it. So will you ever sound like Eric Clapton? Probably not, unless you're playing through his amp. You'll just never sound like Eric.
Right. My argument with that is, I don't think anyone's ever going to sound like Eric.
Unless you're Eric,
That's right.
You can buy the gear and you can maybe get close, but we won't be him in any way. We'll never be. Eddie could do a pretty good Eric, says the dog. Pa.
Yeah. And I think what we have to always also remember too, and we discussed this at the top of the show, bro, and I look forward to you talking about it next week. You AB, if you're looking for a Clapton sound, I've got my Yamaha THR, so I'm fiddling with some of the amp models and with the gain to try and get that, no alibis tone, and I'm getting something that I think's pretty good to my ear. Is going to be completely different if I give you those settings and you go and do it on some line 7 or something like that. I'm using, a Marshall amp and with a British cabinet, blah blah blah. This is the settings I've got. You go and set it, and I've done that myself. I've been on these forums and these Facebook groups. What's your settings? And the guy will take a photo, put it up, and you go and put it on the same thing, and it sounds nothing like it.
A lot of it comes down to even not just the settings, mate, even like the things in your guitar, your pickups, your string gauge, the way you play,
There's no shortcut. There's no shortcut.
And I'm a big fan of find the tone to your ear. Don't try and find it through someone's setting, because you're never going to find it that way. You can get close, but you can tweak it probably better than sticking. It's almost like when you buy multi-effects units, in my opinion, they have presets, you plug them in, they sound terrible. Then you got to tweak them to make them sound good. Right. Whoever come up with that preset thought it sounded amazing. That's what I always think. It's like, who would think that sounds amazing? But maybe it doesn't sound amazing through my gear. That's what I've always thought.
Right. Your gear in your room, everyone's room is different.
That's right.
We're not in Royal Albert Hall, unfortunately.
Exactly. 100%. And you hit the nail on the head there, 100%. The big thing is about Clapton's gear, especially say in 24 Nights, for example, those settings that he might have had in his Soldano were also being filtered through a Bradshaw system, through everything, so that all that plays into it as well. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, and they could be tone suck, or his mids might have been sucked, so he had a mid setting like that because that particular frequency was getting sucked through the Bradshaw system, and then it had to overcompensate, or we don't know. These are things we don't know. And his guitar tech could probably know, or Clapton.
Yeah, well, Clapton doesn't know the term tone suck, because his tone has never sucked. But yeah. I know what you meant by that, though. Yes.
Yeah. So he's a tone guy. He chases a particular tone to his ear. So I'm sure he would not go to a setting and go, well, that's normal. That's my normal setting. How come it doesn't sound right? He'd just be pulling up I reckon each time he crank those soldanos back in the day, that would be his starting point, and then they would vary
right
at each gig. Yeah.
right
But isn't he remarkable though? Because even in the 20s, his tone changes. So just give me a second. I'm just trying to get. Hold on. I'm just trying to get the date because I can't remember. So if one more car, one more rider. So that album that came out in 2002. So you listen to the songs on that DVD or album. So that's quite high gainy, and compare that to the Cream reunion. Yeah, completely different tones. Completely different.
Vibro Kings, the Fender Vibro Kings.
Yes. Yeah.
He said that they didn't have enough mids in them. And
That's correct.
That's when he actually had them modified by Dennis Cornell, who then just was tasked to make an amp of his own for Eric. So Dennis Cornell then made Clapton the Cornell 80 watt amp that Clapton used at the concert. What was it called? What was the Queen concert? Not Queen the band, but they did a concert for the Queen of England.
Yep.
The Queen's Jubilee concert.
Yes.
In 2002. Yeah, that was the first time he used it with Paul McCartney and Phil Collins and Joe Cocker. And then Clapton also used it at the concert for George, the Dennis Cornell. And it's not my favorite tone. And he also used that at the 2004 Crossroads, where he does that famous version of I Shot the Sheriff. Again, amazing performance, but I'm surprisingly not a fan of the tone.
But didn't he also during that tour change to Marshalls because there was an issue going on with the sound system? So a lot of that tour was.
Which year?
2002.
He had a Marshall that was powering his Leslie speaker, which he normally has. I think it was the JCM 800. It's one of his favorite heads.
Okay. So I'll have to search my memory banks. Then maybe it wasn't them, but he went back to something that. Okay, I'll do some research. But yeah, but if you have a listen to, for example, just check out on that. Hold on. She's gone from that One More Car, One More Rider, and listen to the introduction of that song, and just compare what he was doing 4 years later. It's night and day.
Yeah. Well, he was a tone chaser, mate. So it was, what he started off with playing, and then realized that wasn't right. So he just kept till he found the right thing.
He loved that sound from 1996 from the Hyde Park gigs, and he said that was the best amp that he ever owned. He said that in interviews, and that was the same amp he used at MSG in 1999 when he does that famous performance of Layla with David Sanborn. That tone to me is incredible. And same goes for I'm Tore Down and Have You Ever Loved a Woman from 1996.
Yeah.
Hyde Park. So I'm not sure why he sold those amps, besides the fact that they were for charity. Maybe that was the reason. Because he knew that they would sell.
Yeah.
He parted with a lot of gear that he loved.
So guys, Michael's made reference to that, and Brad to this gig a couple of times. So check this out if you haven't, that DVD. This is the one that Michael's talking about, live at Hyde Park. It's phenomenal.
His playing is amazing. He's got Steve Gadd on drums.
I
think Dave Bronze on bass.
Dave's on bass. Yeah.
Chris Stanton on piano. Tessa and Katie Kassoon. Tessa Niles and Katie Kassoon. Who's the guy on harmonica? Jerry Portnoy? I could be making that
That's
up.
correct. Yes.
And he's got the kick horns, who he's worked with more than once. I think they were on the Nothing But the Blues tour. The kick horns add a great dimension to his sound, and their arrangements are great. They're never too much. Great DVD.
So this is the inside cover of the DVD. So Eric's playing his Gibson there.
Yeah. I mean, that guitar was the reason that I wanted a Gibson. And I'm sure a lot of guitarists want a Gibson. Yeah. I purposely didn't get red so I could have something different from Eric. I got a brown sunburst 339, which is a smaller version of the 335. Great, beautiful guitar.
I have to watch this again.
Oh yeah, 5 long years from that.
So what? Okay, so which DVD are we going to do next? This one or this one?
I know my pick.
What's your pick?
My pick is Hyde Park.
Okay, Brad.
I'll just fall in line with you guys because I was late today. So Hyde Park.
Okay.
What's your actual pick? What's your actual pick?
No, actually, I do really like the Hyde Park gig. I haven't watched it in a very long time.
Yeah,
it's been
Holy Mother with the choir.
Yeah, it's a great gig, and there's a shitload of people in there, and they're all enjoying it. It starts off in the afternoon, just gets dark. Eric's looking cool with his black leather jacket. Comes out. Oh, there's lots of space on the stage between the performers. It's just, phenomenal gig.
So yeah, that was from the Prince's Trust in 1996.
That's correct.
And there were a lot of other artists that were playing that day, including The Who. Oh, God, I forget who else was playing there. Maybe even David Bowie. But yeah, it was like a festival, all-day thing. And Eric, I think, closed the festival, maybe.
Yeah.
And I have a ticket stub from that show upstairs in my room. And when you mentioned this show, my eyes lit up. I was like, oh, I have that. So if we do that eventually,
okay,
I'll bring the ticket stub down for that.
Cool. And we want to start a why isn't Eric Clapton knighted campaign too? Because they've knighted everyone else. Mick Jagger's got a knighthood. Why aren't we calling Eric Sir Eric Clapton? Come on, Queen Elizabeth.
Let's start at change.org.
Knight Eric Clapton. Paul McCartney's a knight.
He is.
Yeah. I mean, Eric has done a lot of charity work and has helped out a lot of people.
Crossroads for a starter.
Yeah, Crossroads for a starter. So, I mean, that in itself is probably enough. So.
Yeah. He's
and
definitely
all the other charity work that he's done and all those charity concerts that he's performed and
Yeah. Look at Johnny saying old love, he crushes that solo. He's having fun. He's having fun in this gig. Big smile. Big smiles.
At the beginning he tunes.
Yeah.
No, we'll get shut down if I play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great song.
Oh, here we go. Top marks for Derek.
I should announce this, and probably I'll get shut down for this. On Instagram, I took the username at 24 nights. It wasn't taken. Could you imagine? It wasn't taken. And I took it. So if you want to follow that, there's no followers right now. And I'll probably just post pictures or audio or videos from 24 nights. And maybe even feature people playing songs from 24 nights.
Nice.
Like myself or any other musician who's fascinated by that album. So keep that album alive and share it with your friends and family.
I'm looking forward to seeing Andrew's contribution to that Instagram page on guitar.
Yeah.
So
it'd be a great place for guitar.
Nudge Andrew. We want to see some 24 nights.
There it is, at 24 nights. Fan page, strictly a fan page. This is not run by their management at all.
So, Andrew, the task is on, mate. We want to see your contribution to that page.
Awesome.
Well, I mean, we could also post videos of us speaking about 24 Nights there because it's related to 24 Nights. Any content about 24 Nights could be shared there.
Why not?
Yeah. So we could do an intro video for it. I had a friend play at one of the crossroads. Being oh. Oh, hey, Mark Tanner.
Yeah, Mark is awesome. Mark's a good follower of the channel. Shares our streams on his media platforms. Appreciate that, Mark.
Yeah, we should give a quick shout out to all the groups that support what we're doing. And Clapton is God is one of them. So thank you, Yannick, for sharing everything that we do.
Thank you, Yannick.
And Claptonation, Eric Clapton Music Worldwide, Eric Clapton Music Worldwide, John Rowe, Eric Clapton Lovers Music Worldwide, something like that.
And we'd like to personally thank Eric Clapton for watching our shows as well.
Yes, thank you, Eric.
And that Facebook group that's related to the channel, All Things Eric Clapton. Check out that group, and also All About the Blues.
And that third picture is him? Is that him?
Yeah, that's all. Yeah. Yep.
Wow, I've never seen that one. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, it's all that same guitar. I see. Oh, no, it's not.
Yeah.
The left one isn't. Very cool. Oh, wow.
Okay, guys. Quick wrap up. So we'll be, if we confirm that, guys, we should be live next week. I'm going to throw up some Instagram accounts. If you follow Brad here, there he is. Easy at Brad Cook Music. And find Michael there at I Happen to Have.
We should have some people following at 24 Nights now.
And I'll create another banner.
If we can get some people to that would be awesome.
I'm going to try and add myself now, if I can find it.
There it is there. That's Michael's 24 Nights.
Can't believe it wasn't taken. I really can't.
Nor can I. Good spotting.
I speak about it so much. I searched it recently and took it. I was surprised, really.
So some cool cats that have liked it.
You and Andrew.
Some very cool cats. Yeah.
I'll follow you back.
Awesome. So what a great show. Look, yeah, it's been fantastic. It's always a pleasure for us to have Michael on. We look forward to doing some more streams with Michael. We are three Clapton nuts, and hanging out with you guys in the chat's even more special because obviously you guys appreciate the legacy, the work that this guy has given us, and that we continue to be mesmerized and captivated by. Big part of our lives, even for old guys like me and young guys like Michael and guys in between like Brad. You know, it's music there for everybody. And if our contribution, our little bit of the YouTube world can help and just turn someone on to this great music, well, we've done our jobs. But it's also obviously a selfish thing too, because we're here because we're just fans hanging out, and I learn a lot by participating with Brad and Michael. So I look forward to some more information sharing. We'll be doing the rankings of this fine DVD next week. So tune in, share our channel with any other Clapton and Cream fans you guys have out there. come in, as Brad always says, give us your rankings too. Don't just listen to us. Throw your rankings in. There shouldn't be any timeouts. There shouldn't be any timeouts next week.
No timeouts. Hey, I did something, Andrew. I wanted to show you, even though I'm not timed out. I wanted to show you something.
Sure. Okay.
Oh, I could share things too. I didn't know that. That's cool. Next time I'll be sharing things.
Yeah.
Screen share.
So, yeah. So you can do that, Michael. So you can screen share from there. So you can bring your own graphics and share.
You don't have to. You don't have to approve anything that I'm sharing, huh?
No. If you share, it comes down on the bottom of my screen, and then I just press the thing, and it just comes up on the screen.
Oh, okay.
Or you do what I do, because I'm not very tech savvy, Michael. I just send it all to Andrew, and I go, "You sort it
out." We're on tomorrow, guys, with Simon. We've got the Rock Professor on, we've got Brad on, and myself, and I look forward to discussing Gary Moore's tribute for Greenie. So that's going to be interesting and really, really cool. And we'll be on next week. So I'm going to pass it on to Michael and Brad for you guys to have your final say, and we'll split.
Yeah.
Brad?
Michael.
Well, thank you again, Andrew and Brad, for having me on and talking about the Cream reunion and 24 Nights. It's really an honor to be on the show and just talk about these amazing performances. And I encourage everyone who's watching to leave a comment if you got to attend either the London or the New York shows, because we would love to hear your stories. And or when you first saw the DVD, what was your reaction? Or what was your favorite song? Let us know in the comments. We're happy to comment and continue the conversation. So thank you. And make sure you subscribe to this channel, British Electric Blues Show.
There you go.
Brad?
There you go. Well, you basically said everything I want to say, mate. So you must have seen my notes. But yeah, thank you, guys, for letting me jump on late. I've had a ball. It was totally unscripted, unprepared for the tail end of this. So thank you for having me on. And thank you to everyone in the chat for obviously, being part of it. That's, we're just three Clapton nuts that want to hang out and talk about it. And it's great that we've got people like yourselves in there in the chat commenting and being part of it. So like Michael said, if you haven't already, just make sure you subscribe and make sure you follow Michael as well. And we never really give enough credit to Andrew. So make sure you follow Brit Electric Blues Show. Is that your Instagram there, Andrew? Brit _ electric _ what is, how do you?
No, it's too long. It's too long. So that's why we don't bother putting it on. So, but you guys can find me on Brad and Michael. It's easy. Yeah.
So I've got in my bio on my Instagram. Yep. You can just click on Andrew's link and follow him there as well. So he's just another Clapton nut that deserves to be followed as well and share the love. So
right, and you'll find out about upcoming live streams there.
That's right.
Definitely tune in and follow him.
Because sometimes I'm too busy to, do responding to people and stuff like that, and I apologize about that. But if one of us can respond to you, then that's we're covering each other off there as well. So,
yeah, awesome. Okay, guys, it's always a pleasure. I'm going to play the outro vid and wish everyone in the chat all the best, safe. Hang out with us tomorrow. We'll be on tomorrow. Brad's doing the presentation for Gary Moore's Greenie, so that'll be a ripper. That'll be a ripper. I've been, Gary Moore, rest in peace, Gary Moore. Peter Green, rest in peace. These guys that we love that have gone, rest in peace. Ginger Baker, rest in peace. Jack Bruce. Oh my gosh.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. And thanks everyone in the chat again. So take care, guys. Stay safe.